Hey, everybody. Hey, fellas. How are you?
Good evening.
How's it picking, boys?
Hey.
How's my camera quality, Corey?
Crisp, very crisp as usual.
Hell yeah, good to hear.
Oh, I do not know what just happened to my screen.
Yeah, it looks like the StreamYard is doubling up. Or at least that's what I see on my end.
Does it go back to normal?
Yes, now I see.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I don't know what that was. I think it's a new feature or something.
Also, there seems to be like this background noise. It's kind of.
I agree. There's something annoying.
that feature that you just were talking about is that thing where they could go and like do like YouTube where you can have a horizontal and vertical stream at the same time.
Yeah.
It is that was me, and then I removed it. I didn't realize it was going to mess up your stuff. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, no worries. But
How's it going? I don't think I met you. Is it Radell?
Riddell, yeah.
Riddell. Word.
Welcome. Nice to meet you. Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet y'all.
So my computer.
I have a question for you, Hunter, if you want
Yes.
to answer. So, if I remember correctly, you are married.
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm assuming, but correct me if I'm wrong, of like you went through some sort of dating phase and like established a relationship, and then you got married, right?
I believe that's true. I believe I did date before married.
If you want to consult your wife, maybe they have better notes than you. But I'm curious if you want to say, like when in the build up to your relationship, did you ever like, let's say, have a conversation of like, oh, we are now in a monogamous relationship, or it was like just the implicit assumption after this X number of dates, it must be obvious by now that we're in a relationship.
In Utah, we call that a DTR, a define that relationship, or at least that was the dating culture. I don't know. Maybe I just knew a bunch of losers who use that terminology. Yeah, for sure. We were like. Yeah, there was a specific moment where we're like, we're in a relationship now. I remember that. Yeah.
Okay.
She kind of asked, she was like, which is maybe not the best look, but yeah.
Why is that not the best? As in like, it's sort of a,
I think it's a classically man. That's the male role, I think.
Because
I think classically, I think that's fair. But yeah, I
think there's maybe like an implicit assumption that the man should lead. But I think the general trend would be, but I don't have any real data. But I think the general trend is like in a heterosexual relationship that's leading to monogamy. It's like usually I would imagine the woman pressing for it sooner than the man.
Yeah. That is super fair. And yeah, that is what happened in my case.
I mean, I think it depends on the woman, that's for sure. I know a lot of women that are like, oh, no, we got the roster. We got it going just right.
The roster? Oh, the roster?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the roster, bro.
Okay, so you had a conversation, and it was not just like, oh, let's just assume we're on the same page.
It was a deliberate movement, action moment.
Well, what it's worth, but my opinion might be worth nothing. That sounds like a very mature and adult thing to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think every step should be. My wife is really big on that. I mean, like, not that I've never not done that, but she talks a lot about like how she.
Well, you
wanted to
sound
be
like
really
a mature
deliberate.
adult.
Why do you ask? Do you am I sliding someone here?
No,
Would
well,
someone
I'm
not
not.
do that, and you're and I'm
Before you do that, I put the stream together link in the damn thing, so you can take a look at that. But you can answer that question.
Because last week towards the end, although when after you had exited, like I because it was my intuition that Lacto would answer this way, as in they answer differently than you, as in their answer was, it's like we don't need to talk about it. It's just like it's just a given. We just assume that after
That's
5 or 6
crazy.
dates,
Yeah. 5 or 6 dates.
the scenario that I outlined, if I remember correctly, is like after 5 or 6 dates and you have slept together, and he said no, there's no conversation to be had. It's just if you're not monogamous, you're in the wrong.
I would be real pissed if that was the assumption. I can't. That's not the assumption.
Then when you should hash it out with Lactoid, because
yeah, Lactoid, bad take. When you get here,
Lactoid is clearly look. Sometimes not everyone has the experience or maturity that I do, and I don't hold.
That's
that
true,
them.
and that's why it's not surprising that Lactoid does.
I think it's
not
okay.
A
I think
adult.
it's okay that I'm a better person than Lactoid.
Smash and you're
I low-key agree. That is like, hold on. I would be fine if like things are really clicking. You're like, let's date. I'm cool with that. But like that has to be an intentional, explicit thing.
Yeah, and like, what do we call dates? Like, oh, I took you to the coffee shop. Like,
are you talking about our conversation from last week?
Yeah, like.
It's
like, did we go to like Le Cordon Bleu or something? Like, where do we go?
Cordon Bleu.
You're like, what are we talking about here? Is a date? Like, yeah, there's a lot.
Well, actually, even then, even if it's 6 coffee dates, Lactoid's rule, if I remember correctly, although I'll let him speak for himself when he gets there, is like even after 3 dates.
3 dates.
It's like
3 dates
that
for him. By the 3rd date for Lactoid, but as far as this is how I heard it, before the 1st date, he's done with his last thing.
Yeah,
that's dumb.
So, we'll just wait till Lactoid gets here, and then I would love to escort him for any particular reason. This will be happy. And while we're waiting on that, $5 from my listening library says, "Did anyone watch the UFC fights? Justin is a beast, and Ilya, or I guess Ilya, is a way tougher than I thought he was. He hurt the UFC's plans by being their cash cow."
I did not watch.
know.
Did you guys see that stuff about Eric?
I watched it. I want to say,
I
yeah,
did.
and it all being fake news. Daniel Cormier said it was fake news. Also,
Oh yeah. Wait, hold on, Gibbs. They said it was AI, right? You agree? It must be AI.
What was AI?
So apparently,
The screenshots of corruption.
yeah, somebody sent Daniel Cormier like messages, like saying they were on Trump, I guess, allegedly, and they were saying, "Oh, send me who the fights are fixed," and then like apparently Cormier posted it. And like people ran with it as true, and then Daniel Cormier posted, like deleted it and posted afterwards. He's like, "They'll believe anything, huh?" And like it literally posted that shit right after. So you clearly trolled the shit out of these people. But I want to say this was a fantastic event. There's like all this liberal leftist propaganda about how bad America is has been totally demolished by the Trump.
What demolished? What's that? What is
destroyed and
Can
demolished?
Can you clarify what demolished is?
Yeah, I will clarify just for you.
You will.
It's destroyed and demolished combined. It is demolished, bro. It is a new fangled word and contraption. It's called slang, a colloquialism, if you may.
A what ism?
A colloquialism.
Colloquialism.
Yeah, colloquialism. Now, what I'm saying is, thanks to 250 and this the World Cup, the Europeans were not ready for what America has to offer. They've been led all astray, and they are amazing at how wonderful America. And this is reminding Americans at how wonderful.
Well, they're not amazed about how wonderful America is. They're surprised at the amount of food you. They're like, "What do you mean you can get free refills at your restaurants? What do you mean a large is 36 ounces from McDonald's and you have 87 different types of Cheetos at Walmart?"
But then I see videos. No, it's also the culture. Then I see them in the back of like Black's Barbecue, and then I see them doing stuff like tailgates. They've never experienced any of this stuff. It's not, the food's a big part of it, but food is a part of culture. But it's like also like the spirit and all these things. People are stopping in small towns and doing shit. They're seeing all the cool roadside attractions.
America's back, boys.
America's back.
You think what were the cool roadside attractions that the Europeans were in awe about?
The one I saw that I was really enjoying was the world's largest gorilla that they went and stopped at, and then they had that was pretty cool. And then they stopped at another one. It was this one was San Antonio, but I think it travels.
Everything's so big in America.
Largest inflatable duck maze,
including
that
the
was
people.
A pretty cool one.
Yeah, everything's the world's largest in America.
That's how you know you're in America when there's a statue of a gorilla. We all know.
What about the inflatable Elon Musk? I mean, that was something.
Oh, Elon Musk is another one. He created more millionaires than anybody else in history.
So, okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Gibbs, for the kind 33 months visa. Yeah, right. Thank you for being a homie, sticking with the channel. And beyond that, now I'm going to make fun of you. So, yeah. So, yes, what an incredible event that had barely any people show up, right? It was like, as far as my understanding, maybe I'm incorrect. If anyone has better numbers, then I'll accept that. But 4,000 people who were
it was there. Small, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that was on purpose. They gave away. They also gave away the tickets, like by lottery,
and they couldn't get people to show up.
No. Hold on. The venue was filled. You know that the venue was filled, right? They maxed out the venue, and then they had people outside watching on their screen. I mean, wait, hold on. It's not a stadium. They're not building a stadium. They built a small, few places.
And then beyond that, right? Like it's amazing. It's amazing hypocrisy from Republicans. Now I'm not going to put this on you, Gibbs, because we didn't know each other.
And the UFC.
Well, everything is like Gibbs will take it. He'll take the bullet. It's fine.
Oh no. Well, I mean, don't worry. When I have things to blame Gibbs about, I won't hesitate. But I'm just saying I don't know what his opinions were back then. So I'm not going to say that he had these thoughts. But conservative media, right? They lost their minds when like Michelle Obama was like growing vegetables in like the White House garden. They're like, how could you? How could you? Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm not putting this on you. How could you? As if they, as if she violated the White House, like the tradition and all that. Anyway, like first ladies are allowed to do whatever they want with the thing, right? As soon as not Michelle Obama, what's her face? Melania Trump came in, she just like paved over the whole fucking thing, right? Which is fine. I mean, whatever, right? It's okay. But then we have this fucking UFC match there, right? And all conservative media talks about how brilliant this is, right? What an amazing moment for America, right? When you have like some hot, sweaty men like fighting each other half naked on the White House lawn as a spectacle, right? While the U.S. president is invested in UFC, making money on it, and the only place to see it, right, was Paramount Plus, right, owned by the Ellisons, who are allies of Trump, who have a merger in front of him, which he also approved, right? Like the corruption that was on display this weekend from the president that Lactoid voted for, incredible, right? Just incredible. But as always, as always, you hear nothing about this from conservative media. Only a few praise. It's just so sad. And then the kicker, of course, right?
Elon makes everybody rich too. The kicker. I know that's the one that gets you the most.
Sorry, what?
I said I know the thing that happened this weekend that gets you the most though. It's about is Elon. Is Elon. Making all these people millionaires. I know.
No, it's not.
It's bad.
No, what do you mean making
those people I thought. No, I really thought you were going to guess what it was.
What did he do?
Oh no, okay. I was joking mainly. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing, the top it all off was that I don't know. I'm not sure what his name is. I'm not a UFC person. But that idiot who said that Michelle Obama is the man. At the very end, yeah. What an amazing moment to bring the world together. This was just a disgusting, like up and down event, right? From the president that Lactoid voted for. Anyway, so like, go ahead, Admiral Gibbs, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in free speech, and it's a long tradition to have fighters say whatever they want afterwards, and after whatever they say is on them.
That's not the fucking question. The question is whether or not he should be arrested.
I don't approve.
We can hear you, unfortunately.
I don't approve his message. Everything just froze for me. But can y'all hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, I'll just fish out, then I'll fix my thing. But yeah, I don't approve what he said. I do like the idea that any fighter can say anything they said. We've had other fighters say other controversial things on both sides, like throughout history. I mean, and I think that's part of like what these fighters do is they fight so they can have a platform to say their stuff. But I mean, yeah, it wasn't the time and place. No, I actually loved everything that's happened with the UFC event. I thought it was good. People travel to see it. I've loved all the sporting events. It's been a wonderful weekend all around.
We're talking about the UFC event?
Yeah, I think it. Other than that, which like I agree was maybe not like the best part of it, but I think that like it went off at a hitch. It was.
What was the racism?
Wonderful. Yeah, bro. Hold on. It's so racist that a song created for a movie by the Los Lobos band that was Desperado was played at the White House by one of the main events. Like a main eventers that's played. We have Spanish music played in the main event at the last.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah, and the guys from Spain. Oh yeah, it was good. We had Corpus Christi natives, both Hispanic heroes, came there, walked all the way through. It's amazing that we had such a wonderful celebration of diversity.
What was the racism that's being?
I feel like neither of you.
Oh yeah, the dude at the end, one of the fighters said Michelle Obama's a man at the end.
Wait, would that just be like sexist?
No, it's fucking racist, dude.
That's
like,
probably.
Oh my god! And then now Lactoid's gonna be like, "Oh, what kind of bigotry is this?" He'll like.
I mean, I know it's bigoted. I don't know racism. For 30 minutes.
No, it's actually quite racist, right? Because we see this a lot when we're talking about black women, right? Like this is a common trope, right? To attack them on this. So but whatever, right? I won't have to.
I think he did just get done fighting a black man too. So.
Well, yeah, Derek, but I mean, hold on. Why don't you ask what Derek Lewis thinks of Michelle Obama? Why don't you ask him what he thinks?
Because Donald Trump didn't actually do this for America.
I don't know who
I watched all the fights. To be clear, the last fight was incredible.
Hold on. I think you actually bring up something very important here, Lactoid. The guy he fought, right? Hold on. What do you think Derek Lewis's opinion of Michelle Obama would have been if he had got asked? I would bet you what he would have said would have been way worse than what the guy that won would have said.
Oh, are there racist ass black people too?
I mean, black people. I guess you say racist against their own people now.
So I'm assuming he's black. Actually, I don't.
Yeah, Derek Lewis is like Akon.
Okay,
black.
Again, I don't know who he is.
Hold on.
But like, yeah, whatever. Like, yeah,
he's Akon black,
people within a marginalized group can engage in.
He's also Trump's biggest stand.
Fucking cool.
Yeah.
Hold on. Amazing. Obviously, wait. Hold on.
I was rooting for him the whole time, just to be clear.
Gibbs, you're like, well, I support freedom of speech, and these guys should be able to say whatever they want. Okay, sure. I agree that UFC fighters should be able to say whatever the fuck they want
after they win.
But maybe we don't have to invite them to the White House for a sponsored event.
But hold on. They did invite Sean Strickland, and this guy was like the tamest of the wild ones, right? So they had like one controversial guy, and him and Lewis already had history. So they were like, okay, this is going to be perfect, like because Lewis is Trump's favorite fighter, and so like, okay, perfect.
Yeah, he invited him specifically,
and so he invited Lewis specifically.
Okay, I don't understand.
He asked for.
How can he be his favorite fighter's black? This is.
He may have asked Trump's not a fan of
him and Lewis are black.
I mean, him and Lewis are like famous.
I'm just speaking like this isn't even like about like him or not like him. Trump's not a fan of sports. He doesn't understand the rules.
He loves fighting. He watches goes to every
you asked him, like he said he was a huge Knicks fan, and then you asked him to name a player. You couldn't name a player on the roster.
This is so weird.
He doesn't know the rules of football.
This is what I don't like.
I'm just saying that.
Wait, hold on.
You're not a Knicks fan. You don't know the players.
Hold on.
You're not a Knicks fan.
The person said that they asked and she named wrong years for championships right afterwards. The person that said that literally originally the one that you're quoting, the New York governor, whenever she said that shit, they literally asked her, she said in the next sentence, a wrong date for a championship. So like, I wouldn't be sitting on a high horse going, haha, got him. When the person who brought that up and used that originally. But she's the one who made that joke before I heard anybody else make it. She's like, oh yeah, Trump couldn't even name a player. And then she says the wrong date.
I'm saying Trump's not. I mean,
she's the governor of New York.
Not necessarily the same thing.
You think the governor of New York's a fan of the Knicks?
Who cares?
Probably, right?
Probably,
right?
What would that have to do with what he's saying?
Well, okay, so if she can't name every player names the wrong date for a thing, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, she's.
I said no. I don't think she's a fan of the Knicks.
Okay, well, that's crazy.
But neither is Trump.
So what difference does that make?
Trump likes golf.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That's my point. What difference does it make?
He made a statement. No, he made a statement, right? He's saying, Trump is not a fan of sports. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but
not true.
He
goes to sports
events
right? all the time.
But then
he goes to events and he falls asleep
and jump in, and he gives a reason why, right?
What does that mean? This is so stupid. I fall asleep watching football every Saturday during college football season, right? It's my favorite thing in the world. I watch college football. I literally do this weird thing where I half sleep, half watch, and I can repeat back to you what happened while snoring. It's amazing, right? But I do this every year for a half year. How do you know? My dad doesn't fall asleep watching football games. Like, this is what normal people do. Like, you're acting like he's mad going to an event.
Gibbs, I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Gibbs, why is this a thing you have to defend Trump on?
Because he loves sports. No, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. Yeah, exactly. Who does the difference does it make that he likes sports? I'm just saying this is like I'll tell you why. It's because this is just another one of these things where it's like y'all gonna attack him just because y'all hate Trump. Like, you don't even like sports. Why does he go to the event? Even though he's like clearly does like sports.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in real quick. I'm gonna take, I think, the first time I've ever in defense of Trump. I think he likes sports. He's been at the UFC this whole time, and honestly, it discredits how much we fucking hate Trump and all the bullshit things that he does and all the constant corruption. We talk about these random angles like he doesn't like Trump.
It's not about talking about not like them. We can think about fact. You don't have to defend bullshit.
No, but hold on. He
doesn't. He can't name players. He can't name teams. He doesn't.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He loves UFC.
Yes,
He's part of that organization for like decades.
No, he likes that Dana White sucks his dick. He doesn't care
about it. He was part of the WWE before they brought him in, and there was like Jim like
this is a useless argument. I don't know why we're attacking on this angle.
Because then why are you defending it? Don't defend about something you consider useless then. Because I'll defend it to the death.
WWE isn't in the sport, but like it doesn't matter.
Oh, here we go. I mean, they're athletes.
Well, it's a performance of a sport. It's a performance of a sport.
It's not a sport.
It's a performance of a sport.
I think it's a sport.
Yeah, it's a performance.
So is fucking cheerleading. And
no, there's not. If the winner is predetermined, how is it a sport? Like, what the fuck?
I mean,
yeah, it's a performance, Gibbs. It's a performance.
I don't think that matters.
But if there's
athleticism, but it's a
performance.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, yes, wait, that's what I said. It's an athletic, right? It's athleticism. We can understand that, but athleticism and sports are not.
I would agree.
Sport is competition.
Athleticism is not a category. It's a trait. It's not really a category.
Yeah, but competition is what a sport is. If you remove the competition aspect, but you're still doing all the aerobics, you're doing a performance. You're performing a wrestling. You're performing a fight.
I can bridge this. It's so WWE
there's still
sports entertainment, right? And then sports are sports, but they're also entertainment. So there's like a crossover.
But it's like social media competition.
I'll agree. It's like pre-planned. I mean, that's not a debate.
Yeah, it's pre-planned. It's
like there's a heel, right? That person typically will lose. There'll be the most hated person or whatever.
Yeah, but he's been involved in both.
Like there are things that go with it.
And like the sport of the UFC since like almost its inception. Like, I mean, like
sure, he tried to buy the Bills in the '80s, but he says he's a Giants fan.
He tried to buy the Bills. Why would that seem like he's a pretty big fan of sports?
No, but he couldn't never play on the team. He's a rich person. He wants to own sports teams.
So you tell me sports teams don't make a shitload of money?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
You can ever make.
They genuinely usually don't.
They don't.
Wait, no.
They've been rising on.
They've never
all
went
the football
down.
teams have been like rising in profitability, right? Like if you bought it like 20, 30 years ago, like you've made an insane profit.
There's no better investment in the world than owning a professional NFL team. Period.
That's not crazy. What? Like, that's not the number. What are you talking about? That's not the best investment of your money.
Yes, it is.
Well, Elon Musk proved that wrong.
Speaking of profit, who here's bought some SpaceX? That's what I'm saying. I'm a proud owner. I'm a proud partial.
I didn't buy it out of
any which way.
Principle. I knew it was
Lactoate. So I'm gonna my listening library, $5 from them. I do agree with Prime. Well, also great start to anything, right? You should consider that Lactoate doing that.
Money and Prime in the first sentence. That's like win-win.
He loves it.
While I really enjoy the event on the corruption of it all is insane. As someone on the left, I despise its right-wing nature. Thank you, my listening library, for both of those super chats. But yeah, like apparently Lactoate.
Corruption.
Hey, Lactoate, is this okay? Yeah, the corruption. Hold on. Yeah, because he's invested into the UFC, right? The UFC now on the White House lawn, right? On government
on the 250th celebration of America.
Yeah. Like I don't care about the celebration,
it's not actually,
but like
also
like on on the White House,
and flagged
like a government sponsorship of this event that he is invested in, right? And then you can only watch it on Paramount Plus, right? The platform owned by the Allisons, who have a business in front of Trump, Trump allies who've already donated to Trump, right? You don't see anything wrong with that, Lactoid, at all? That's just okay.
The UFC funded it all. They lost money on that.
No, they didn't. I'm about to say the security was paid for.
No, Dana White came out.
Dana White never did.
Dana White came out. He said that he lost money. I'm looking here. He owns
money, but the taxpayer
between $15,000 and $50,000 worth of TKO group holdings. It's like nothing.
The security was paid by taxpayers.
Yeah, hold on. That doesn't matter though. Trump is invested within the UFC. Hold on. It doesn't matter if if the scheme was successful. You know that, right? You already know that. I don't have to tell you that. So, Lactoid, even if they lost money, you can understand there's a level of corruption, level of conflicting interest here.
No.
Correct?
No.
Wow.
Corruption to lose money.
Hold on. If he has
principles.
If we have somebody who has as much money as Trump has, or any of his affiliates, and we're talking between $15,000 and $50,000 is what he owns, according to his financial disclosures. This is just an AI telling me this. To be clear, I'll have to double check to see exactly how much he owns, but they're estimating between 15 and 50,000. Even on the high end, this is nothing that would, I think, influence a decision to have the UFC.
You would
at
agree
the White
that
House.
they intended to make money from the event, though, right? You would agree they intended to make
I
money
don't
from
think
the
that
event?
was the plan.
I don't think so. I think a big part of it is, like, let's be honest.
So they did an event at the
massive-
White House and made a spectacle to lose money? Are you serious?
Yeah, I
Is that
actually think it was.
I mean, they just paid for hella
Let me
advertising.
respond.
It's also like resume.
So
Exactly. I don't know.
It's politics. It's politics. So the UFC, whether you like it or not, especially the UFC, and really all combat sports, but especially the UFC, it seems like every single fighter is super pro-Trump. Your average fan is super pro-Trump. Trump derives a lot of his voters and a lot of his political support from like the fighting sport communities and specifically UFC. So if you're going to have it makes total sense that okay, your ardent supporters love UFC. You're doing a giant celebration for the 4th of July, the 250th year anniversary of the country. You're going to have all the patriotic shit. Before the UFC was there, they had motocross racing. They were pulling out all the shit that Trump fans like to watch. Yeah, I think it makes total sense that for Trump, a much bigger part of it was the show and the celebration of America, and him probably in large respect too, than it was some kind of cash grab.
Well, also, I just want to add. Just to add to Lactose,
and it's Trump's birthday.
Just to add to them losing money, though, you also have to remember that TKO owned it, and you saw throughout the day they also had the WWE people there. They were doing meet and greets. They were also pretty adamant about keeping certain people out, like Sean Strickland, made an appearance and they threw his ass out immediately, and he ran off. It was a whole thing, and he was the one that was real controversial. This other Odic guy kind of came in. But the other thing that you have to remember is the TKO is owned by Saudi Arabia for the most part, right? And you see, if you saw Riyadh season popping up, that was a whole thing. They're pushing, it's the prestige. It's prestige matters, I think, a lot to the thing.
Yeah,
we did an event at the last.
Yeah.
Now, hold on.
I don't know his relationships with these people.
Your earlier point,
by giving them access to the White House.
One more question.
You made the point about Michelle Obama's garden and all these other people. I agree. I thought that was stupid when conservatives did. I thought it was stupid. And also, I'll tell you another one. What I thought was fine when the couple times when they had events. And remember when they had the rainbow pride flag thing? I thought that was fine too. Whoever wins, that person at the White House should be able to decide what events they want to have at the White House. I think it's really that simple. I don't know why, especially if they didn't pay for it and the company paid for it. Saudi Arabia and TKO, they got to money to lose the money for it.
I would know what.
I don't know why you telling me. People keep saying telling a lie.
I need a
that it was all paid for.
How do we pay?
I don't know why people I know they tell the lie. Well, it's not really a lie. They say taxpayer money didn't go towards this. Dana White can't fund security at the White House. That's not a thing. Not even if he wants to. That it was 20-ish or $25 million worth of.
So you have a problem with them doing stuff at U.S. bases because all these people go to U.S. bases to entertain troops. No, you have a problem where the U.S.
They need less security. They need less security than the White House. Not 20. They probably don't need $25 million in security for the White House. I have a problem with it,
but it's not about doing things. My problem isn't doing things. I just think that was that's separate. I just want to make sure that we're not lying as well. or being misinformed.
Yeah, no money, no taxpayer money. There was
no taxpayer money. A lot of taxpayer money went towards it. I think, like I said, it may have actually been $30 million of taxpayer money went towards this type. I don't think it was about corruption, though. I do agree with that. It's just self-aggrandizing.
No, it's 100% about corruption. F that. No, so
I
do agree. One second, let me make my point. I do agree that the winner should be able to do what they want on the for the most part, right? Should get a chance to do what they want, right? Except if they're invested in the company, right? And let's not understand. They didn't get anything out of this. It was just from the kindness of their own heart. 4 months, maybe a year. I forget how long back he announced this, right? Like it was, let's say about a year or whatever, right? Since Trump announced this, they've been nonstop coverage. Well, not nonstop. It's ramped up, right? But there's been a ton of coverage on the UFC, right? The UFC being in the news, the UFC being talked about on social media, the UFC being part of the story, right? The UFC has gotten so much free advertising from this, right? To get this happen on the White House something that's never happened before, right? This is a brand new event, right? In this pivotal moment, they get to do this and then say that they didn't get anything out of this. What are you talking about? It's crazy. And once again, the president is
his relationships with these people,
right? And but before, that seemed to be a big thing. It seemed to be a big thing, especially among Republicans. Oh my God, someone might be invested and there might be corruption involved, right? I remember something about a previous president and his son, right? And what they were invested in and how that might be a problem. Now, the Trump administration is directly invested into this venture happening on the White House lawn, and now it's not a problem anymore, right? Because they're hypocrites, every single one of them, including Lackwood, right? They don't have any principles. It's always imaginary, right? And once again, you get a chance to see it. At this point in time, when it's obvious, it's staring you right in the face, right? And there's plenty of more corruption when that came from, right? I got a whole list of corruption from President Trump. That's never a problem for the person I like to have voted for. These things are always swept under the rug.
It was Trump. I voted for Trump. Donald, in fact.
Indeed. Sorry.
And I look forward to voting for him again.
No.
You won't need to vote, but you'll get to keep.
Hey, so. If you're gonna make the claim that they did this event with the intention of maybe potentially losing money, I don't agree to that. I think that's ridiculous considering all the personal relationships there. I'm sure they really probably wanted money to be made from Paramount, TKO, WWE, UFC, all that stuff. But even if I were to grant that, and you made the claim that the personal relationships Trump had with all these business owners, Gibbs brought up Saudi Arabia to raise the infamy, the fame, the notoriety with his base and maybe more people. Isn't that kind of raising your political capital using private relationships with businesses also considered corruption?
I don't think so.
Trump doesn't have any political capital.
Because the idea here would be whenever any president goes to a NFL game or a baseball game and they have private security help them to go do so, if they go do anything, I suppose at any kind of mingling with the people at any kind of event where it's privately owned, which we're in America, almost every venue is going to be privately owned, then this could be seen as some kind of corruption.
Is that the same thing as the White House event?
Well, in the principle,
in a good faith way, would you consider that
it is a good faith. In a good faith way, I think it is. I just looked it up. They expected to lose money. It's $60 million overall to put on the event. Going into it, they only had revenues estimated about $30 million. So they're going to take a $30 million loss. The government didn't pay for any of it other than typical Secret Service protecting the president, federal officers protecting the president.
Is that typical?
Whenever he goes to an event,
doesn't really apply.
Whenever he goes to an event, yes, you're going to have security there for
$25 to $30 million.
No, it didn't cost $25 to $30 million on the government. I'm saying they lost. I'm saying the UFC lost.
No, the security. According to
the security is
$30 million.
Hold on. It says, I just looked this up. It says that they didn't add any extra security for the Secret Service side. The UFC paid for all the extra security needed to be required. So
that's not true. They even brought in police officers.
I got horrible to say
White House security. They don't have the ability to.
What do you mean they don't have the ability to fit? All they have is the normal.
No, this is fucking no. This is crazy now. Like the president. Stop. No. What I mean is, even assuming everything that you're saying is true, this is fucking crazy. The president can't have an event where they're not paying for it. They're doing is the regular federal security people are like, they're not paying for the event. The regular federal security people are like protecting them and like protecting the event. And the president's having the event, which is, yes, of course, it's going to be a private venue, just like any kind of venue the president's going to go to. And it's a specific event to celebrate America's 250th birthday to the world, I guess, and to America, with a company and with an interest that the vast majority of his supporters support. This, I would never criticize Biden for doing this. This is crazy.
The fucking
did you criticize Biden for
some of the fighters are going to be paid in like the World Liberty Coin, right? Trump's crypto.
When have I ever criticized? So like every single year, presidents will have like a Halloween, or they'll have like a Christmas where they're out in the front of the White House and they're handing up candy, or they're handing up presents, or whatever the fuck. Yeah, and they have security there. You're not going to find a single instance of me saying, "Well, no, that's a corruption." Like, who paid for those candies? Isn't that corruption with Kit Kat? I don't know. Stop.
Did they pay for Trump crypto? That's important, right? Did they pay with Trump crypto? Did that happen?
I'll look that up. I'm not aware of the fact whether they paid for with Trump crypto specifically.
Yeah, some of them are being paid with World Liberty Coin. Like, what are we talking about here?
Did they request that payment? I mean,
crazy.
Hold on.
This is crazy.
Yeah. What if they hold on? What if they request that payment?
Yet another venture that the president is invested in.
Wow. Wait. If the fighters request that, then whose fault is that? Is that
they didn't request that?
I mean, hypothetically, if they did, I don't know if they did or not. We don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if they did. I have no idea.
But if they did,
they are Trump supporters, so I wouldn't be surped.
Yeah,
every single one of them was a major Trump supporter.
Hold on, let's just say
I want to get paid.
Again, I wouldn't be surprised.
In some meme coin,
yeah. Trump gets a cut of all the financial the transaction fees.
So
right?
even if the fighter requested,
that's what he gets for owning World Liberty Coin, right? So money
before we even I'm not going to bake in that assumption until you can find some proof of it, because there's no reason to believe that they requested it. None.
I mean, they are all Trump supporters. I don't know.
You have to look it up.
Yeah.
Hold on. Why do I? Hold on.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hold on.
No, they were not paid in a meme coin.
Hold on, Brock.
This is a lie.
I want to respond to what Bam just said. All right, you just said they were paid in the Trump coin, and okay, we're supposed to take to the face. I said hypothetically, it's not an exercise. Hold on, I know. And a thought exercise. What if they requested it? And because this doesn't seem out of the ballpark for some of these guys. So at face value, sure, I don't have any proof, but it doesn't seem like whatever. How we're supposed to take your claims that like are serious? Like, I'm not going to. In that case, I'm not going to engage anytime you don't have proof that I'm not going to accept. Like, that's bad faith. Don't be bad faith.
That's fair. I think you're allowed to ask that. I can be annoyed, but if I'm making a high stakes claim, I think you can ask for me to demonstrate something before you continue, and then we can just.
I mean, you were just saying a guy bitching about a guy like talking about Michelle Obama up there. You're saying it's out of the realm of possibility that guy asked for Liberty Coin. Like, come on.
I want to just one second. I'll go to you right next. I just want to get a super chat out of the way.
Okay.
Thank you, my listening library, for another $5. Really kind of you for the support. Thank you so much. It says Dana used the UFC to help revitalize Trump after January 6th. They have been using the UFC as a political tool for him since that point. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know he's like showing up there. I know he's like a big fan. I know they're close. Right, like he's a big Trump fan, and and they're correct. All of these guys are correct to say that almost like the whole UFC, like in their fan base, right? That's very much Trump. I'm not sure how this revitalized him. I'm curious what you have to say about that. In what way they did that, but
you every time Trump goes to the event, right? It's all these streamers that are there that are taking pictures that are happy to see him. It's Aiden Ross, it's the Nelk boys, it's all the people that are kind of like semi-associated with the UFC, especially for like the Gen Z audience that pump him up and make him.
So it's like a combined media event that adds on not just the event itself, but all the people who meet.
Yeah, it's not specifically just like the UFC, but it's like everything surrounding the UFC.
All right,
to add to his point, we always have to remember that most of the people, regardless of how politically involved everybody here is, most people in America are not politically involved. So if they just see something generally that is appealing to them, they will attach to that either familiarity or feeling by watching the event. So it's like, oh, Trump, UFC, cool, I might vote for him again. Like, or
everyone loved him,
but I might vote for a MAGA guy.
Everyone was so happy to see all these celebrities that were also happy to see Trump. Yada 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 yada.
So I just looked it up. So the fighters were paid in cash. There were bonuses that were handed out, but they weren't in Trump coin. They were in USD coin, which is a stable coin that's pegged to the US dollar, and it was used to promote crypto. There were bonuses paid in that for sure, but none of that was government money.
Well, also
right.
that's in line with his policy.
USD1 is Trump backed. It's World Liberty Financial.
No. Yeah, but World Liberty Financial handed over the, handed over the USD coin, but it's not like a Trump coin. It's a stable coin.
It is a stable
coin.
Like I can go buy USD off any. On Robinhood right now.
He's saying. Oh no, I got you.
Yeah,
you're saying that like it was the USD one is a stable coin out like in general, right?
Anybody can buy
it. And then they handed it through World Liberty.
But I think it's owned by World Liberty Financial,
and it's also part of his policy. He wants us to use more crypto too, though. In general,
it's not just a random coin.
It's still a stable coin. But it's twofold. Okay, well, one, it's a stable coin, but the other thing is part of the policy has been that they want to start diversifying U.S. interest into crypto, right? If you are saying that as a policy push and you're giving a stable coin as a bonus in order to promote this to the public, I don't see that as a conflict of interest because you're sitting here promoting
a company he's bought in
that you ran on. Hold on, you want crypto in general? He's invested in a whole bunch of different companies, and I think it's
but it's his crypto.
Yeah, but it's not just
crypto. That's the point.
The USD1 is a US dollar peg stablecoin from World Liberty Financial.
So it's a US dollar backed. It's still a US dollar backed stablecoin. So you're wanting to
pegged to the US dollar. It's not
pegged to the US dollar. So it's pegged to the US dollar. So it's part of the portfolio of coins that we've been put forth when we invest in all that shit. Remember all this when you did the big crypto push? And so it's part of that.
But these are his coins.
No, that's World Liberty.
That's not the US. You're just upset about his policy.
Treasury.
No, I'm upset that he's using.
Not own,
there's no policy here, by the way.
Well, Liberty, right?
He's already been
pushing the U.S. correct, Lactoid, when I said that they gave out Trump coin because they did.
No, stop. Trump coin is stop. Trump coin. Yeah, Trump coin is a different thing. Anybody can go on any exchange right now and get a stable coin, like USD coin. There were bonuses paid out. But I still fail to see what the corruption here is.
World Liberty Financial.
He gets a percentage.
Yes, World Liberty Financial, who, my understanding, sponsored the event or was involved in the event, and paid out some of the bonuses here for the fighters.
World Liberty coin.
Okay, you keep saying this, but like, do you think Dana? Here, let me just ask you what you think corruption is. No government money whatsoever. Dana White, who's a massive supporter of Donald Trump, supports Donald Trump.
Invested in this coin. How's it not government money?
Yeah, but no. And also, y'all are wrong. We have this coin is part of the Genius Act.
Corruption.
It's part of the Genius Act.
So, do you think it's corruption? Do you think it's who do you think ultimately paid for this? Who do you think paid ultimately for the USD coin to be transferred over to the fighters? Who paid?
It said private investors.
Who made money off of the transfer?
TKO. The owners of the UFC. Yeah. Do you think
who made money off the transfer?
Is it corruption if the UFC were to donate $30 million to Trump?
For the event, yes, absolutely.
He gets.
That's corruption. Donations are corruption now.
In exchange for benefits.
He gets a cut of the donation.
What's the benefit?
He gets a cut of the transfer. He gets a cut of the transfer.
Again, I can hand money over to a president. That is legal.
If you give me this.
And he gets does he get a percentage of that money?
If he gets what? What was the quid pro quo?
What?
Can I advertise on the White House lawn?
You can donate money to presidents to advertise.
Donate
on the White House lawn.
You don't hold this standard. You would never hold this standard.
You can donate.
I do not call it criticism when people donate millions of dollars to Democrats, despite the fact that Kamala Harris outspent Trump on every single swing state in the last election. And besides Pennsylvania, massive margins. Is that corruption?
We're talking about campaigns right now.
Could you explain to me, like, you're saying you can donate to a president to advertise? Like, what do you mean by that?
Sure. So you can super fund, right? A super PAC. If I wanted to, I could put $30 million into a fund to advertise the president's message, to advertise something the president likes. This is perfectly
That's
legal.
the president directly.
That's not
what can't give him a percentage of that money.
The business itself is advertising. This is not like them like doing a political message for the president, which is corruption in itself, right? That is corruption. It's just legalized corruption within our awful system. Well. But anyway, still, right? This is like them advertising their company that Trump is invested in on the White House lawn. That's the thing that we're talking about.
Well, no, so it's not Trump specifically. It's a Trump family linked company. I'm pretty sure like it has connections to some of his family members. It's not him at all.
Family linked
UFC?
No, you're talking about World Liberty Financial.
So I looked at it. Family Trust has investments.
You don't think World Liberty has connection with Trump?
That's how corruption works in general, right? Like,
no,
hey, my son.
Definitely
right?
has. Hold on, his connection with the family, which definitely has connections to him, for sure.
Yeah. So exactly.
Where do you think? Do you think anybody in his family's money isn't connected to Trump directly?
Directly?
Like, do you think
it's all his money? Their money is his money.
Yeah, it's not
his money is his dad's money. Like Trump doesn't have money without his dad.
But Trump's kids don't have money without him. Like it's a family. Like all the money circles.
Wait. Hold on. That's not.
And again,
you could say no. Stop.
You talked about Hunter Biden, so I'm like again. Don't.
What have I said about Hunter Biden? Stop. What have I said about Hunter Biden? Stop. What have I said about Hunter Biden? Since you know me so well, what have I said?
You said, I'm about to say, you said that what they actually charged them with was BS because it was related to the cocaine and the gun charge, but you thought that they actually should have went over them related to the Burisma stuff. You think there was something there?
No, what I've said multiple times is I'm not super educated in the Burisma stuff. I think that the allegation, which I have not parroted or gone into because I just don't know enough about it to like be able to take a firm position on it. I'm not going to take a firm position on something unless like I read into it enough to know what it is. The allegation that people who know a lot more than me have said is that they're very specifically used leverage, like public government funded leverage in Ukraine to establish jobs for members of the president's family, specifically Hunter Biden. If that is true, I think that is a problem for sure. I think that using government like money and government influence and government forces in order to compel another country to give like economic benefit to your child, I think that's a problem. But I don't know if that's actually the case when it comes to Burisma.
What about
almost everything I've said about Hunter, and you can go back through all my public comments, the vast majority, if not everything I've said about Hunter Biden, is that I think that the gun charge and the cocaine charge was bunk.
Yeah, that's what I started with. I know you said that, but I thought you said that if you were going to pursue him, they should pursue him related to Burisma. I feel like I was in this conversation.
Yeah. If they were going to pursue him, like that should have been the thing that they were investigating, as opposed to a fucking gun charge and a coke charge that was complete bullshit. I don't know enough about the situation to know whether or not that actually happened. If on the other hand, it was the case, by the way, if it was on the other hand, if it was the case that like, I don't know, some kind of comparable situation happened where like some organization that's close to Biden, I don't know, like fucking DC Pride, I don't know, some kind of organization, like they had like a big event right at the White House, and it was like a big thing, titties flopping everywhere and all that shit. And like they were getting paid with a kind of cryptocurrency that was owned by Hunter Biden. I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. I can't see why it'd be that big of a deal unless like there's some like something I'm missing. Like what
if Hunter Biden? What if Biden gave like a $600 million like contract to Hunter Biden for a business that he has like zero priority?
Is it a government contract?
Yeah, a government contract.
Yeah. If we're talking about government contracts in exchange for money, that's a much bigger problem. Did the UFC get a government contract?
What about Don Jr. receiving that government?
Yeah,
contract?
Don Jr. Trump have both have gotten government contracts for the money.
They've given government contracts to the UFC in exchange.
No, this isn't about UFC. This is about drones.
Yes, like they have like drone companies.
Okay, well, if we're talking about something else, maybe this could be a problem. So what happened here?
I'm about to say specifically from the White House, because I think the Department of Defense specified that the White House reached out and asked them to grant a contract of $650 million to a drone company that had been like founded less than a month prior by
By Eric Trump?
He's the investor. He didn't found it, but he invested in it, and it was started.
Well, how much did he? Okay, hold on. How much did he invest in it? Yeah, I'll read on this.
I'll put a link in this in our group chat. I don't want to spend too much time here because I made a promise to our friend Hunter, right? Our wonderful.
You don't have
friend
to.
Hunter.
I'm enjoying
it. No, Hunter. We got to do it.
I guess
no, you can just use it whatever, right? You can just start this. So there were others reporting on this, but like that's just the one I have.
No, look, I will read this, and if we're talking about a government deal where we're spending government money, and like we look at it and it's like, wow, like there appears to be like
family venture.
Yes, there appears to be some like quid pro quo here. Like I think that this would be like more of a concern. This does not appear to be the case whatsoever at this UFC event.
Okay, so you can look at that.
Yeah, I said that about you. Agree.
Okay, let's just move past. I want to get started on this, and
which was awesome, by the way,
and not racist. Give us your opinion. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Of course not. But you can give us your opinion on that later. I wanted to make sure we give plenty of time to the actual topic at hand. So far, thank you for the kind super chats from my listening library. Much appreciated. And of course, the research from Admiral Gibbs. Consider supporting the channel if you haven't done so yet. If you liked our little opening here, hit the follow button in case you haven't done so before. Right, hit the follow button, or consider supporting the channel through like becoming a member on YouTube or a subscriber on Twitch, or like super chatting. Singing super chats, those are fantastic, and we will discuss them. And it was that one super chat that sent us into a spiral here on the. We've been talking about that for a half hour. So you want us to talk about your thing, right? Sing the super chat, and we'll see what happens. All right. So we're gonna get started now. Thanks all for being here. Much appreciated. The topic for today. The Boy Scouts of America was destroyed by, among other things, a series of Catholic Church-style child sex scandals. In the wake of these revelations, $1 billion legal restitution fund was set up. However, as detailed in the attached video that they saw, the process of disbursement to alleged victims was a complete mess. The process seemed to be filled with bold-faced fraud and misconduct. Part of the reason for this chaos was the fact that U.S. states allowed victims to seek restitution far outside of the statute of limitations. Almost no evidence was needed to claim part of the settlement. This raises the question of how we should handle sex crimes. Oftentimes, victims require a long period of time before they are ready to step forward. This is especially true of children. But this often puts their efforts outside of the statute of limitations. And this time lag makes it nearly impossible to produce credible evidence for or against the allegations. So was it a mistake allowing old victims to get restitution? Should we have statute of limitations attached to sex crimes? Does it matter if those limitations allow predators to escape justice? And what kind of evidence should be enough to secure a conviction? So I saw this video. I saw this video last week, and it's a fantastic video by I think was it Elephants in the Room, I think is the name of the individual. Elephants in Rooms. I'm subscribed to this guy. He does like a lot of like hot button issues, right? Tries like do debunks or proving something or whatever, right? I think you like Lactoid. I think this is the channel right up your alley. But in any case, so he like brings up this thing about Boy Scouts, and I clicked on it, but I wasn't really expecting where it was going at all, right? I think the content creator is correct, is that I'm not sure how widely reported this is. I mean, I'm sure there was some reporting out there at the time, but like I've never heard anyone discuss this. They had a restitution fund for the victims of, they had sex crimes against children, right? As a thing that happened, it's really unfortunate. And there was some reshuffling of these people, or keeping things hush hush, as we've seen before. So they did that, right? But like, then the problem was like, okay, we got to get this money out there, right? How do we do that? You've seen it before, right? Even if you haven't seen this one, you've seen it before, where like there's a big settlement and then there's like ads on TV, right? Advertising this settlement if you were hurt, right? By this ice cold therapy. That's one of the ones that happened, right? This ice like fat lessening therapy. Then call our lawyers, call our law firms to see if you're eligible to be a part of a settlement that just took place, right? That's what happened for the Boy Scouts. So they put out this big like effort to like find victims, but like the evidence to say to prove that you were a victim, that you were eligible, was like quite weak, like quite weak. Like I believe if I'm maybe hopefully I'm saying this correctly, but like you just had to have someone say that like corroborate that you are within a Boy Scouts troop that had one of these like pedophile guys, people suspected of pedophilia, right? And then like name that guy. But like multiple things happened here. There was a database that was created, right? Like a publicly available database that like had the details of all the Boy Scout troop officials who might have been suspected. So even if you didn't know, if let's say you weren't a victim and you didn't know anything about this, right? But you were part of the Boy Scouts and you can get someone to say that you're part of this troop, you can just say like, oh yeah, I was part of that troop where that guy molested those people. And then you were in. And then from there, according to the video, there was like a certain amount of like a legal documents that need to be filled that was being auto-filled by these lawyers. They were just like pumping them out, right? Especially as the deadline came up, they were just like chugging out all these legal documents to make sure they could take part in the settlement, and then of course get like lawyer fees on top of legal fees. So like the law firms themselves are making money on each of these. And so yeah, it seems like a lot of fraud took place. But right, I want to balance everything that I just said with the thought that yes, there were victims. They existed. That's the thing that happened, right? But also, right, we have this idea of the statute of limitations. And like all these victims are way outside of that. Way outside of that. But when you prosecute these crimes, right? This happened before. This is not just in the Boy Scouts where they've like had these like laws that have extended, that retroactively extended the statute of limitations for some category of sex crime. When you do that, it makes it extremely difficult to like defend yourself, right? If someone starts accusing you of something that was like 20, 30 years ago, how do you gather the evidence? Right? Like, do you have evidence to say is that you weren't in that room with that person? You were in a different state. Do you have that? Like it makes it difficult to have a defense or to even like, put forth credible evidence. So that's why I wanted to examine, right? What should be credible evidence in a case such as this? And how should we treat these things going forward? So that was a long preamble, but I was trying to get the audience caught up on all this. We'll start with our good friend Lactoid and work our way around.
So a couple things. The first thing I want to say is SpaceX is doing fucking crazy right now. Highly advise you to take a look at it. Elon's the GOAT. The other thing I wanted to say is I looked into that. Trump's kids buying into a defense contractor. Pretty shady. Pretty shitty. Not a fan. That should be illegal. As for the topic, I'm going to take this to, I know that Scouts is kind of like the specific topic, but really, I think this is just the broader conversation as to statute of limitations and what, are they fair? Because they've come up in a whole bunch of situations. They've come up political situations, right? E. Jean Carroll for Donald Trump. I mean, her stuff was well beyond statute of limitations. And they very specifically kind of made a change to allow E. Jean Carroll in order to bring that claim. Because otherwise it would be barred, be time barred. And I have a little bit of experience with analyzing statute of limitations given my profession here. And so I'm just I'm going to give you my genuine take as to my thoughts. And my thoughts are generally, I think statute of limitations are great. I think they're very good things. I think that they are needed. And I think that they should be, in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, even stricter than they are now. And for those of you who, just to fully emphasize, or I guess elucidate what a statute of limitation is, statute of limitations basically means, you can sue somebody who fucks with you, who does something wrong to you. whether that's hitting you in a car, whether that's discriminating against you at work, whether that's sexual assault. But you have to bring the lawsuit within a certain period of time. And for each offense, there's a different amount of time that you have to bring that lawsuit. My argument, I think there's three main reasons why I think statute of limitations are really important. And the first one is talked about in the article, which is, fraud, I think, is a problem. And not just the kind of hard fraud that we're talking about, where like this guy just fucking made this thing up entirely. There's also soft fraud, where people exaggerate things, right? Like, and you see this a lot with car accidents, where like, yeah, the car accident happened, but like, oh man, my back is really, really hurting, and I have, all these injuries, and yeah, like, you look at their medical history, and there's a bunch of injuries they had beforehand, or, you get pictures of them lifting weights, whatever. That's fuck that. But no, they're really, 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 really hurt. That's generally what's referred to as soft fraud, where, they're not making up the fact they were in an accident, but like, come on. Right, it's getting ridiculous. They're inflating it for the value of the case. That is a really, really, really big problem when it comes to lawsuits, and it's one of the reasons why doing business in America is expensive. Doing business anywhere is expensive, but in America, we're a very litigious nation, and it is one of the driving forces for business costs and insurance costs, which is a problem when it comes to when we want to have a dynamic kind of industry and a dynamic workplace, and also dynamic workers. Right, we want people to be able to live and operate in society without fearing fraud at any given moment. The second reason, I think, and Prime touched on this, which is that as time goes on, evidence begins to deteriorate. Physical evidence, emails get deleted, emails get auto-deleted, memories tend to fade, witnesses tend to die or disappear or move, or all these things that can happen. There's all this deterioration of evidence that can be critical for somebody to defend themselves, right? If I had an email that had a perfect alibi, but it got deleted after 10 years because, of course, yeah, that's going to make it really hard to defend myself, because obviously my shit's going to delete itself after 10 years. I didn't know this was going to become part of a lawsuit. I can't live my entire life keeping every single thing I ever have like a hoarder. Yeah, I'm going to be cleaning out some stuff. I'm going to be cleaning out my car. DNA evidence can fade as well. Like, there's all sorts of things. We just can't have it be the case that, at any point 50 years ago, where were you on, January 2nd, 50 years ago? I don't fucking know, and nobody fucking knows. And then the last thing I'll say is, and this is a general criticism I've been sort of hinting at it, there's too much litigation in America to begin with. It's a massive burden. There's too many lawyers. Lawyers tend to be the worst people on the planet to begin with, and there's just way too many of them. And we pay a lot of money, just not just in terms of insurance costs and business costs, but also the court system itself is really expensive. Judges take up a lot of money. Attorneys take up a lot of money. We just need to cut down on that generally. I think we should cut down a lot of it on the criminal side too. We should be, doing things to legalize, drugs, nonviolent offenses, reduce penalties, stuff like that. That saves a bunch of money, but also on the civil side as well. So generally speaking, I think this fund was badly administered. Oftentimes, a lot of this is just political. Well, don't you care about the victims? Yeah, sure, but there's real reasons why we have to have these limitations in place. And it's hard, it's hard to be the bad guy and say, well, sorry, this legitimate victim doesn't get money for the crime that happened to them. But that's just the trade-off when it comes to dealing with issues in a society.
Thanks so much for that, Lacto. I'm really appreciated. Let's go to our friend Hunter. And Hunter, I just wanted to apologize again.
What?
You seem really excited to do it.
No, hold on. I don't even think I was that excited. I just didn't want to talk about strippers all day. That was where I was at.
That's how you were.
That was a great conversation.
We eventually spoke about Lactoid's core approach to
dating. Of course, the time I'm not here, the strippers conversation happens, right?
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, that was just definitely.
Oh, we needed Gibbs there, man. That would have been.
That would have been so.
I hate strip clubs. Love strippers though. It's crazy how that works. I don't know.
Prime hates strippers, but
Gibbs, are you regularly falling for strippers?
No, of course, there's a rule. This is the one rule after I got divorced, and this is an important rule, man. I think if you never listen to any advice I give you, you should listen to this advice: is you don't date the stripper. Right? All right, they're fun.
No, you can date for the summer. It's a good time.
No,
Greatest summer of your life.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Summer,
I wouldn't have thought that. I'm not
fine.
gonna lie.
Yeah, you don't date the stripper. Situationship, that's fine. Whatever. You don't date them.
Poor Hunter, it's happening again.
I know.
And if you want a sales tip, if you want a sales tip,
it's like, what the fuck would I just start?
Here's another tip. If you have like a guy and he's kind of nerdy and you're trying to make a sale to him and you're taking him out at night as a client to you or something, take him to the strip club before you go out to the bar because the girls, this guy will be into him and he'll be feeling all hype and excited. And then you take him to the regular bar and he's going to feel more confident. And he's probably going to sign that deal because he's going to remember how great of a night he had with you that night. So that's your piece of advice right there on how to use strippers for sales. All right.
Let me ask you
for that.
Just one thing for Gibbs, all right? Gibbs.
Sure.
Do you think the stripping industry, right, incentivize manipulation, right? Incentivize manipulating the customers?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously.
Obviously. Okay.
Yeah, but it's like every industry is like manipulates customers.
True.
Like,
I don't know about that.
Every sex-based one definitely manipulates their customers.
I would say, like, okay, if not every industry, it's a great majority has some form of manipulation like built into like the customer base.
Like the ranching industry, right, Gibbs?
Sure. Yeah, I'll tell you how we manipulate you. We want you to eat more of our beef. Like, we think it's a good product, so we're gonna like make sales. Like, I mean, based off that. I mean, that's manipulation in some sense, but like, I don't know.
Get you some of that screw worm, boy.
It's bad. It's bad screw worm.
I'm good, bro.
Well, that's a whole panel itself. That's right.
And we should
It
have
was
that
last
panel
week
about how Trump and
Screw worm?
Elon
Tell us
Musk
about being an
screwed it
Eagle
all up.
Scout.
Let's go for him, Hunter, please.
Okay. That was a great example as to what I didn't want to talk about. I'm fine if you guys do. I just don't have a lot to contribute. I will say that this conversation, I can contribute a lot more. I know a lot more. I was a Boy Scout. I was an Eagle Scout. I actually knew quite a bit of people. I wouldn't say quite a bit. I knew one or two people who were involved in this sex abuse stuff, and it was very serious and it was really impactful. I tend to, however, still understand the reasons for statute of limitations and understand that also the amount of fraud really did affect quite a bit of the actual victims. And usually where I sort of end up here is that statute of limitations should probably be kept where they're at. However, there should be an extra emphasis on the ability to speak out about this kind of stuff, because there was a lot of social and cultural pressure to sort of keep things quiet. I grew up Mormon, so it was like also integrated into the church, which also has a bunch of sex abuse scandals. There's going to be a lot of fun conversations about that, I'm sure. But yeah, it was a terrible situation where a lot of kids just didn't feel like they had the language or ability to speak up. And I'm usually in favor of those types of conversations. Unfortunately, this has been kind of an ideological position at this point, because usually when elementary school teachers are like, this is your no-no zone, then the parents are like, why are you teaching them about genitalia? It's like, well, because we can't trust you. You tend to abuse your kids. So sometimes we have to have teachers come in and say, here's what a no-no zone is. And if someone's touching that without you liking it, you should probably be telling someone, maybe a teacher, if that's the only person you trust. But sometimes, anyway, that's a whole other situation. That's usually what I advocate for, is language for children to speak about the abuse that is affecting them. I will usually be pro statute of limitations. And I think that's my positions. That's about it.
Thanks so much. Mm-hmm. Let's go to our friend Corey.
So I have not rewatched the video since last week, so I may get some details wrong, but feel free to correct me. But I did find it strange, if I remember correctly, like the person in the video seemed to take issue with this being compared to like the Catholic Church scandal, where I think, if I remember correctly, like framing it as like, well, in this instance, as opposed to the Catholic Church, it was like a few bad apples type of situation, where I think that's a little bit strange. Even then, from what I understand, although I have never been a Boy Scout in any way whatsoever, or even close to it, but like from what I understand, like the Boy Scouts seems to take some responsibility in the, I don't know, the moral cultivation of young men, boys, but someone can correct me on that. And I do find it strange that if there's an institution devoted to that, and they, I would say, they demonstrate some moral blindness, I think that's, you know, a major fatal flaw in the institution in and of itself. But regardless, even though Lactoid, and I think even Hunter just now was making the case for statute of limitations, as of now, I'm on the fence, or maybe as of now, leaning slightly towards 51%, maybe against or slightly against, or very highly skeptical of them. But like, yeah, they can go either way. But I'm going to maybe probe Lactoid and even Hunter more on like what their full justifications are, because at least I was not convinced by the arguments that Lactoid made. And so in this case here, do I think that there should be a statute of limitations? No. And is fraud a valid concern? Yes. But again, if I remember correctly from the video, there were no like explicit cases of fraud that were highlighted, just like there's the potential for it, which is a valid concern. But until it's actually demonstrated with any sort of like data or some rate of fraud taking place during this instance, I don't see it as a major concern as of now. Same people like, you know, does fraud happen with welfare? Sure, absolutely. But like, is it to a level that we need to abolish welfare? I would say no, although I'm sure there are some people that would say yes. And so all that to say is like, doesn't seem like a statute of limitations is justified in this case. And fraud doesn't seem to be a valid concern as of now. And I'll leave it there for now.
Thanks so much. I don't know who is clicking. Oh my God, please, guys.
It couldn't be because my hands were like up.
I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't like, but
I always get blamed no matter. You said it earlier. I'm like,
my mic's off.
First of all, before it was you, Gibbs, not the clicking, it was something else you were doing. And I was watching your mic levels, so it was you that time.
Listen, I don't trust you're watching it.
Well, listen, Gibbs, if you can't operate your camera correctly, there's no way you can operate the mute button correctly.
Listen, I operate. I have very skilled in mute button.
Oh yeah, can you zoom in and zoom out right now?
Let's see if it'll work for us.
And zoom out. Oh, you got one. 100% hit rate.
Yeah, yesterday was we got one day. We got one day working. Anyway, that doesn't mean much. I was going to say though, what was it the other day? You're like, oh, this is happening, and then it's for everybody else. It was reversed. So I'm thinking maybe your microphone lighting up thing might be reversed too, Brian.
Hey, my microphone lighting up thing. Okay.
Yeah, technical term.
You're fantastic, Gibbs. Thanks so much. Let's go to our friend Ali.
Yeah. So I probably agree with Lactoid and Hunter in terms of like statute of limitations for most things, but probably not in terms of like child sexual abuse for the like main reason that, you know, a kid may not admit it or say something about it or have the language for it, as Hunter was saying, until like years later, or even be able to come forward with it. Like, you're kind of putting a lot of pressure on a kid to do this hugely major thing and then take them on in court, whatever it may be. I mean, especially when it comes to like an organization like the Boy Scouts, right? Like, if enough kids come out or if enough adults in the future come out and say this happened, or if the organization does some investigating and they find out that something happened and they want to make a payout, I mean, I think that's completely fine. I think the kids, the adults are deserve that money. You know, I don't think there should be a statute of limitation on this. And then the fact that there was some fraud, I mean, obviously there's going to be fraud. I don't really think that matters. And if the Boy Scouts, you know, end up failing as a company or like they're destroyed by like this $1 billion pay, well, I mean, then so be it. Your company was going on and perpetrating so much like child miscare, then it doesn't matter that you guys shut down. Maybe you shouldn't exist as the company. I don't really see the issue with that. So the fraud isn't enough for me. And yeah.
Thanks so much. Let's go to our friend Gibbs.
Yeah, see, I don't know about y'all, but when I was growing up, the Boy Scouts were sus. I mean, maybe they were like something that was normal back in like the 50s and 30s and shit, but we all knew that was happening with the Boy Scouts. It was sus from day one. I don't know who was letting their kids go to the Boy Scouts, but they're sus as well. Maybe we should look into them. All these fuckers are sus. Like, listen, I know Neil Armstrong or whatever had a fucking Eagle Scout thing, but he probably had it from when it was normal. Well, like, listen, all I'm saying, growing up in the 90s, we all knew, you know, know what was up with the Boy Scouts. We also all knew what was up with the Catholic churches, and none of us was Catholic. So hey, I'm just saying maybe some of y'all start paying attention to what's happening around y'all, because I feel like that's a lot of self-inflicted. Secondly, yeah, I guess how do you get around the statute of limitations? I mean, there are some like crimes that have no statute of limitation, but I feel like, I don't know, just for the sake of like shit moving on, you have to have them. Like, it's because if someone comes like 40 years later and like this guy's like on his deathbed and it's like, oh, I'm about to give my inheritance to my kids, and then someone's like, oh, I got SA'd 50 years ago and didn't say anything, sus, right? Like, why didn't, I'm not saying fraud. I don't know, maybe that's the end all be all, but like, it's maybe, I don't know, there's got to be some sort of statute of limitations, as is there all like on most things, right? Just from like, I don't know. It seems like it's I'm going to default to the lawyer on this. Also, aren't there civil remedies that you could take outside the criminal system? Like, as well. Like, I think the Eugene Carroll thing, even though it was outside the statute, she was doing it civilly because the criminal, statute had gone out, right? I think.
Well, this is a civil case that we're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I know. But it's
civil,
like,
the civil statute of limitations also ran out. The
Right,
government very
There's
specifically
levels.
extended it for her.
So that's what I'm saying right here is like, I feel like there's already different levels of statute of limitations where we consider different things like, oh, you have this remedy, and then you have this much longer if you want to do it under the civil style where the burden of proof is lower, right? Like, so you have like, I feel like we're already giving like extra things for people for all these kind of different options in the legal system. So yeah, I don't really want to change statute of limitations that much. I don't know. It seems very like weaponized, and like I know people are going to want to try to paint the conservative, like the Boy Scouts as some conservative organization, but nah, fam, they sus. I wouldn't. No one's standing on them. If y'all are going to stand on them being a conservative organization, then y'all have to stand on NAMBLA being part of the LGBTQ from day one. I mean, that's the only way I'll accept both, because they're tied to both. So just saying. Otherwise, they're sus. That's all I got.
My mom took me to Cub Scouts. I begged to like be part of Boy Scouts, and I got into.
My parents never sent me to no scouts.
Yeah. And I won an award.
I have a question with whoever sent you to Scouts, but hey, we gotta have a talk. Like,
I won an award for like community service there, and that was nice. But then my parent didn't want to like continue on with the thing, because like she would have to like take me, and that was too much. And then that was the end of that. So I had like a few months in there, and that was it. Let's go to.
Well, she might have met the families that were had their kids going and go, something was weird about this.
Hey, that's fine. Let's go to our newest addition, Riddell. Thank you for being here. Happy to have you. Tell everyone about yourself a little bit, and then give us an introduction.
Yeah, so my name's Riddell, real name. I don't really do the social media names, to be honest. I run a podcast called Purple Political Breakdown, where I go over politics. I speak with a lot of different types of guests, and I talk about policy and ways to improve America in general, and by extension, the world, because I do think America is the greatest country. I speak a lot about speak with different like types of people, whether it's like business owners or politicians trying to kind of push things in a proper direction. So that's what I mostly focus on. So this definitely wasn't on my radar in terms of like a big issue, considering how crazy Trump has been for the last 2 years. So when I looked into the video, it was a lot of things stood out to me. So first things first, statute of limitations. I think for the most part, all of us agree that it is a good thing for a lot of the reasons that Latoid said. However, this is a unique case, which is where I agree with Ollie. This is a child sex abuse case. So it's a little bit different because a child won't have the capacity to really defend themselves. That's kind of like the big core element of this conversation. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure a lot of us have seen things, or at the very least know people, where it's like a child can be pressured to keep silent. A child can be pressured to do whatever. They can be manipulated. They're children. And then the biggest problem is once that happens, over time, they're going to be less likely to say anything, and they're going to forget. We're going to have these issues. But are we just going to give up on the child at that point that got taken advantage of when they were the most vulnerable? I think that's kind of ridiculous. So when it comes down to this conversation in particular, the biggest issue I saw wasn't the victims trying to get justice. It was the firms taking advantage of the victims. That is the biggest thing that I was like, wait, why are these firms going out, throwing out tons of advertisements, pushing it out as much as possible to get as much people as possible to sign up for this claim to get money from the bankruptcy. It seems like the victims were being taken advantage of in this situation. So I do think the conversation mostly lies on like, how do we prevent sexual child abuse victims from being taken advantage of? Because one thing that is fair to say is that the bar to prove guilt for a civil case is not that high. So there probably needs adjustment for this if we're going to change the statute of limitations for children in particular. So I think that's kind of like my biggest issues, these firms and these hedge funds taking advantage of victims.
Thanks so much. Now we'll go to my friend Black American Maid, who I didn't know was going to be here. All right. Pleasant surprise to have you here, friend. Yeah, thanks for being here.
But you still ended up putting 2 black people at the end. That's crazy. We got to work about but let's see here. I don't want to rehash what everyone else what's been said, but I think I'll add more context behind my reasoning. I do believe in statute of limitations. I do think the issue, particularly with children, is at least what society has determined the responsibility we grant to children, which is almost none, which I don't think is a bad thing. I believe that if we can't hold children, if children can't sign contracts, if children are treated as minors, essentially with almost no societal expectations and responsibility, it would be strange to I don't think that clock can start while you're a minor, even if you want to have a conversation about statute of limitations, just because of that being number one. Number two, the potential dynamic of the reality of children aren't even a battered woman can be in a dangerous situation, but she's legally allowed to go live somewhere else. She is allowed to, seek refuge somewhere. The child's not. So if that abuse is involving a parent, maybe that child wants to speak on something, but they don't want to speak on it until they're in a position where they can legally get out of the house. Even if they did run off, if a parent found them and, requested them to come back, by law, they would have to. While they're still mine. I know you can say if they say what's going on or whatnot, but generally, there's an expectation of that, that child does what the parent says. So I can also understand why having a limitation set around minors can be pretty problematic. But like I said, that doesn't mean it should be a never. I just think if you want to have that conversation, there's a 7-8 year window. I don't know. I'm just throwing out numbers here, but that clock wouldn't start until after 18 at a minimum. And then in regards to the Boy Scouts in particular, I had a couple people I went to high school with that were Eagle Scouts. Scouts existed, but I think just growing up in the South, if you wanted experience with outdoorsiness and camping and stuff, you probably just knew somebody who did that, versus sending your boys off to be in a group with, Scoutmaster Dan, who nobody really trusts, and the shorts are way a little bit too short, for comfort. You just go with somebody's white uncle on a camping trip, and he brings the boys.
Uncles have great reputations.
Listen, I'm gonna trust redneck Uncle Bob way over old Scoutmaster Dan. Let me tell you, you know which one of them sus. One guy might get drunk around the kids. The other guy's gonna be, don't worry. I'm just saying.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's it.
So last but I just need to correct something, right? There aren't 2 black people on the bottom row. There are 3, right? DB is 2% black, and he never shuts the fuck up about it. So I just want to acknowledge that.
I'm 5%. Sub-Saharan Africa.
Double it.
The best he's getting is a Mexican frog. He's not getting past Mexican frog for me.
Not Mexican's race.
Very fucking Mexican. Hello. Mexican? He's Mexican, and he denies.
Okay, yeah, he's
80% Mexican.
And 5% black.
5% black. Thank you, DB, for being here. Love to have you here.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Yeah, I don't think there's very much disagreement for me. I think that we should get rid of the statute of limitations. Doesn't seem like the issue that ruined the Boy Scouts was just getting rid of the statute. It was more that they didn't require enough evidence. So you can get rid of that without getting rid of the requirement for strong evidence that can be tested. That seems like the reasonable thing to do.
And just so everyone knows, I'll just say my position on this. I'm actually quite torn on this, right? I feel like I'm closer to Lacto's position, but like I think there's like strong a case on either side, and so I'm really excited as to like how this shakes out. But yeah, let's go.
Okay, so
nobody brought this up though. I was gonna say,
who's like driving the disagreement?
Is that like for example, I've heard people argue, like statute of limitations, especially for like little kid cases, because you can have like people take advantage and like plant memories or like suggest shit, people remember shit falsely, and eyewitness testimony is already worse, like least reliable. Now, then it starts being like, oh, so now you don't
any documented cases of that?
Victims? I mean, I don't know. This is just
hold on, false memories? Yeah.
No, not a. I know there are documented cases of that, as in like the scenario that he appears to be outlining of someone, let's say, implanting a memory into a child and that child making an accusation.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't think of the specific, but basically the therapist is like,
I know for a fact there is.
I don't know about sexual abuse, but I know there is with like.
I'm sure there's a few cases of that happening.
Well, it is not when they say plan it. It doesn't necessarily have to be on purpose. Like the therapist will be like asking questions, and they're like, "Oh wait," and they're still ask enough, and then eventually they'll remember something and that didn't happen, and it's like they planted this thought because it's like they went down a line.
They triggered a false memory.
Misremembering is different than
no. So like if I'm like if you're trying to find trauma, right, and they're like asking over all these different questions because they're trying to figure out what caused this, the therapist, right, and then eventually they like keep going like, well, were you ever whatever, and the guy's like, oh no, but then they keep thinking like, oh, maybe that one time there was this one time I remember maybe this happening, and like it's like a thing that never actually happened, but it's like because they've been pushed down like a line of thought.
Okay, well, wait. I don't discount. I don't just wait. I don't discount that can happen. Wait. Are you saying just to clarify, to make it explicitly clear of what you were saying? Are you like making an accusation of like someone intentionally trying to get a child, or just through unintentional, like through the therapy process?
I would say most likely the unintentional one, but like
are you saying something nefarious?
I would say like I meant more along the not nefarious, but now that you mentioned maybe the nefarious.
I don't necessarily. Gibbs, if you want to document a case of that.
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to propose this for the reason of like providing a scenario that is plausible, then it is plausible. I would say the more likely scenario, and the one that I'm much more concerned about, is when an adult takes advantage of a kid and manipulates them to shut up. That's the one that I'm like more concerned about, especially considering they have more likely as well. They have every incentive of the world to manipulate their mind at that point once they've done a traumatic event to them. So that one probably
I don't disagree with that either. Yeah, I mean that's probably is more likely. Once again, it's just like I would say this is something I've heard as an argument for the statute and things, like especially when people like go and try to dive into trauma with like their therapist. Like people start like going down trains of thoughts, and since they're not the professional, they start like coming to conclusions.
But that's not even an issue related to statute of limitations, because that could happen immediately. Right.
Sure, but I mean, if you haven't gone to therapy for like 30 years, and you're trying to deal with like some kind of, I don't know, abandonment issue or something, and then like you're like they start asking all these questions, you're like, well, did this happen when you were in childhood?
Yeah, but it might be even more likely when they're children to make up false memory.
Sure, that could be. I mean, that's a good point too.
I just know that like the false memory thing, I don't know specifically related to sexual abuse, but like it is a thing like that happens with children with parents that split. Parents can end up selling that like, oh, we left your dad because he was a violent person. He was these things, and like kids end up picking sides against their parents, and they like it's more so related to the parents' stuff than what actually happened with the child. Like they just get, so that is a thing. Again, I don't have a specific related to sexual abuse regarding that.
Are any of us where's the disagreement, or where are we disagreeing here?
Well, I sort of mildly disagree with statute of limitations. I think that was the
I think there's a few people here. Some people believe that.
Yeah, Doobie said no.
So if you
Yeah.
When it comes to children, like this is like I think the most sympathetic case, but it's also one of the most dangerous cases because children are obviously fantastical, right? They tend to believe a whole bunch of different things. They're very easily manipulated. They tend to have poor recount of things, and so there is a concern as to false allegations stemming from children, right? Like I've seen children say all sorts of things. A friend of mine, she said that when she was a kid, she just accused her parents of pushing her down the stairs, and she said it didn't happen. She just would lie constantly as a child. It's just something that she did. Kids will just say shit. But at the same time, because they're easily manipulated, they're also victims. Unfortunately, of horrific crimes, and they oftentimes don't have the wherewithal to fully, to bring that towards the proper authorities. And so, yeah, it's a kind of a catch-22 where shit, like we want to avoid the negative aspects of deterioration of evidence and false memories, false claims. But on the other hand, we want to make sure people actually are in a position to bring claims that are entirely valid when otherwise they just simply couldn't do it. A lot of states, what they've done and to compromise on this is what they'll do is you do have a statute of limitations, but the clock starts ticking when you turn 18. So when you turn 18, you're an adult. It's your responsibility now to know to bring the case if you feel like you were wronged in some way when you were a child, but you have to do it within a certain period of time. I kind of lean towards that the most because there's a compromise here, right? Like you're not going to have like fantastic, like incredibly old cases that were, where the evidence is degraded beyond recognition. Yes, there's going to be some evidence degradation, but unfortunately that's the trade-off. But on the other hand, there is an opportunity for people when they become adults to make the claims. So, I mean, what do you got? That's to me probably the best compromise. I don't know what you guys think about that.
If I remember, and I'm still reading through the Wikipedia article. Thank you for sending it. It's a very interesting case. But like, if I remember from your opening statement, I believe you mentioned that like one of the justifications for a statute of limitations is like, let's say the person who might be accused is not holding on to everything. Since like if there's a potentially looming lawsuit or criminal case, it's like 10, 20 years down the road, if you've deleted that email, but does that not work in both ways, as in like the evidence degrades for the crime and your evidence degrades for the defense as well?
It does, but in America, we tend to put an emphasis on defense against wrongful accusations more so than we tend to put a deference towards positive accusations, right? So, and I think part of the reason for this is because, I mean, you're wielding the awesome power of the state when you, whether it be criminal or civil, you are bringing the power of the state upon somebody, and we want to be really careful when we do this. You're right. I mean, forgive me. What's your name again? Riddell was correct when he stated that with civil cases, it's a lower standard. It's 50+1. It's a lower standard than it is for civil cases or criminal cases because you're right. The stakes are still a little bit lower, even though it is still the awesome power of the state. But in large part, here's the problem. In large part, like, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Innocence Project, but the Innocence Project, a lot of what they've done is use DNA evidence to vindicate and to really save.
And I believe that's one of the things that bypasses the statute of limitations. But correct me if I'm obviously not a legal expert.
For sure. But the important thing is looking at how they were prosecuted, which is oftentimes faulty eyewitness testimony. Oh, I knew for a fact it was that guy who raped me. Turns out the DNA evidence shows it wasn't. Turns out this is entirely invented memory due to trauma, or a mistake. Right? This is happened. This is documented hundreds of times. This is documented of happening. So yeah, and juries tend to believe very convincing testimony, even if it's entirely false. So and testimony is evidence. So yeah, if you go up on a stand, Corey, and let's just say like you're not super convincing or whatever, but you had evidence that was exculpatory, but it's since degraded. You don't have it anymore. You've deleted the email that gave you the alibi. And the other person goes on stage and under a false memory or a mistaken identity, they are incredibly powerful. They testify in an incredibly powerful way. The jury's crying. It's horrible. You just might be fucked. you might be fucked in a criminal case. I mean, that's what the Innocence Project does. And so in a civil case where the bar is even lower, that's a concern.
Okay.
I do want to make a...
Well, I just want to clarify. I just want to press a little bit further. So then in that context, then are you in favor of a statute of limitations for every crime?
Yeah, I think I'd be okay with I think I would be okay with a statute of limitations
from what I understand,
for every crime.
There's some crimes that there's like, I believe
murder
is one of them.
Yeah, murder typically doesn't have a statute of limitations. When it comes to like really bad crimes, there's obviously like a concern of like we can't let the interest in.
But your argument holds true in the case of murder. Someone can accuse me and come up with a convincing story. If I just
I know. By the way, how I would maybe. This is a good question, and how I would maybe address this would be like because it's such a serious crime, perhaps you would still let murder cases go forward, but the standard required for conviction after a certain time period has passed would be extraordinarily high, right? Like we would need to have the DNA evidence. We would need to have like shit where it's like, oh shit, like you really did it. I'm not comfortable having witnesses
or would you somehow
being able to put somebody in prison.
I'm sure that's probably not feasible, but scale it as in like based off of the time passed, the burden just increases.
Yeah, well, something that we always need to be aware of whenever we talk about this is the unfortunate reality is that like of sexual abuse almost always boils down to a he said, she said.
There we go.
And that's a really, really, really difficult threshold because it's such a serious, awful thing that happened. But there's usually very rarely a strong amount of evidence wherein when it comes to murder, there's necessarily at least a body,
yeah, but I can just look up some unsolved case. There's many bodies.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that these are different categories for that reason. It's just there's usually a lack of evidence given the nature of the crime is based off of consent where you can't really consent to kill someone. Does that make sense? And a consent is almost necessarily a he said, she said situation. Now, there's definitely more factors to this. There can be evidence that exists there, especially if they deny that sex happened. Then obviously there's rape kits, which can determine if semen entered the body. There's a lot of different factors to this. I'm not trying to distill it down.
Those are time sensitive, though.
Yeah, that's a huge conversation. Is that I think that's those within like 24 hours. Those can almost be. It's a very. You kind of have to decide to do it soon.
But
and
also consent doesn't apply when it comes to children.
No, I agree. I agree with that for sure. Which is why they have to just deny that it happened. Right. That's super fair. But these are one-time events that, or I don't know. I'm not trying to excuse the event. I'm just trying to say it's
I don't think
really complicated.
Yeah, and everybody obviously everybody's okay. Like if the child comes forward at the time, obviously they can still go forward. What we're talking about is statute of limitations. We're talking about a kid coming forward, or somebody who's like 30 or 40 coming forward and saying, "When I was 8 years old, this happened to me." So that is a tough case.
I think that's like an isolated. Oh, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to and then you can go. I want to make sure we're separating the conversation a little bit. You guys are talking about criminal. This is a civil case, and this is a case
regarding civil as well.
No, but in this situation, the evidence was the fact that they already created like a whole memoir, a Boy Scout list of people who were already considered people who abused children. Like so, the case of the Boy Scouts organization was already there of like them having very, very bad people. Now, what needed to be proven in this case was who were the victims. So the sex crime already there. And then they did bankruptcy and is like, okay, who gets the money? And then that's the kind of like the muddy part. Like some people are lying about whether or not they got sexually abused, but the abuse did happen. So that's why it's like different.
And some people are going to lie. I think in cases of like individual, right? If one person comes out and says, yeah, 30 years ago, this person assaulted me when I was a child, that's going to be a tough case. But when it comes to like organizations, right? If you're going to have like multiple people, unless you believe that every time you have multiple people come that they're just organizing in order to just file like a class action lawsuit, it's probably not the case. If you have multiple people come out talking about an organization saying that these things happened around this person, around this time, around this whatever, then that's probably going to be the evidence that you need to like try them and get the money, and that should be fine enough. Obviously some fraud is going to happen. You're never going to get away with it, especially when it's like 20, 30 years ago. You're always going to get a handful of people that are going to come in and just try to get some money, but that's kind of like to the detriment of the like organization.
which is a problem.
Not really. They let rape happen. Just because some people frauded them out of some money isn't really that's not the greater issue in the situation. If the Boy Scouts get destroyed because they have to file bankruptcy because they had these rapes be perpetrated, well, the fact that they lost some money due to fraud isn't like I'm not really going to be concerned with that.
First off, I want to say I have no love for the Boy Scouts. Okay, I don't really give a fuck that they're. Honestly, I'm kind of. It's nuanced. I'm kind of.
It's a sus company, man. It's a sus thing.
For sure.
Well, no, I have some good memories, right? Like I get to be nuanced about this.
Maybe those are false.
I'm sure you do.
True.
Exactly.
True. But something that we should really often consider is that if the Boy Scouts go bankrupt because of all of these lawsuits, then the kids abused don't get any restitution. They don't get any financial like if enough people pack on and then it's like, well, there's a small center that's true, and then there's a lot more of these fraud cases that dilutes the real issues, and then those kids don't get restitution.
I mean, what's the likelihood that you think that's the case? That it's more fraud than it is actual cases.
Didn't the Boy Scouts go bankrupt? So I think that I would.
Well, that's what
that evidence that it was more fraud than actual abuse. Is that evidence that it was more fraud than actual?
No. I'm not saying that there's more fraud than actual abuse. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that, and Lactoid, correct me if I'm wrong. In these certain cases, if the Boy Scouts announced bankruptcy, which I believe they did, I don't know. I could double check on this. They did. Then no one gets money. They don't have to pay.
If they run out of money, they can't get bankruptcy. Money.
What?
They use the bankruptcy money to give out to the victims. That's what they're using.
They had $1 billion fund after I think that's what put them in the bankruptcy.
And when that disappears, it's gone, is what Hunter's saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think the average settlement was around $3,000. Like, I don't even think we're talking about.
So a couple of people decided, because it was taking forever. It was like a 6-year process. They were like, "I want my money now." So a couple of people got like $3,500, which ended up like $2,000 after legal fees for an expedited claim settlement. But there's still a lot of other people that still haven't gotten anything.
That happens. I'm talking about this is a matter of scale, though, right?
I also want to point out that I was reading up on this before this topic here today, and I've noticed.
Press Gibbs.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're really gonna be impressed about what I have to say next.
I'm excited.
I saw that specifically the Mormon Church had their own exclusive sex scandals tied to the Boy Scouts.
I fucking said that. Yes, I said that out loud in my introduction. I'm glad that you said that. I see that.
He said he can't wait till it comes out.
Hold on. Yeah, which I wanted to say.
That's what he read when you said it.
I think this leads credence to what Corey just said about those false memories being planted. Maybe we should. Have you seen a therapist?
Oh, to be clear, I took issue. I took issue with the potential accusation of someone nefariously.
Right. No, I was saying that you just asked me
a round of applause. You're saying that maybe I was abused as a kid and I forgot about it.
Yeah, false remembering that it was.
By the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be nefarious. Just to be clear,
I don't disagree. As in, I agree with the verdict in the case that you said. Like that seemed like just bad psychiatrists.
Yeah, like I think most implanted memories are probably either a provider or a parent, I think in probably most cases, trying to dig into what they perceive might be a repressed memory, and in the process of doing so, creating a false one. That would be my prediction, the most probable case this would come about. Which again is a concern, because then it'd be a false memory that people kind of build their lives around, and once you ascribe the identity of a victim to yourself, it becomes very difficult to let that go. And we know this just from when AIDS patients, for example, if they were told, "Oh, by the way, you actually don't have AIDS," the first reaction they had was depression.
But that isn't even what happened.
Because they've created.
But that isn't even what happened in this case, though.
Loss of identity.
In this case, it was later on. There was the Boy Scouts file was bad shit happening. They put it out, and then the adults had to come forward and accept. So it's not like there was any implementation that would have happened. This isn't like the parents tricked the kids and then put these memories in. It was just kind of a free-for-all, which is that's kind of the greater issue, is that they kind of just put it out there hey, who wants this money? Just admit to being diddled as a kid, come on over. And that was the openness. It wasn't like there was a false implementation or any of that situation. The biggest thing you can claim is that there was fraud that happened, but the only thing is you can't really claim the fraud that was happening because it's the Boy Scouts who found out that there was some vile shit going on, and they're the ones who opened the fund. So this
Honestly,
shit
also,
happened.
follow
There were
up
no
on,
lies.
follow up.
Honestly, pretty stupid. I didn't start claiming some shit because
You should have. I don't know why you
You
didn't.
can be rich
See,
now.
this is what happens. This is what happens.
Wait.
I
Why
definitely
shouldn't?
could-
Wait.
That's the
Why
real
should-
tragedy here.
Why shouldn't the Boy
Be
Scouts of
rich.
America get frauded out of their money? Who cares at that point?
Here's
well,
why.
because I won't go there because the
will.
victims. But the victims won't. The real
Oh, if the
victims
victims
won't get the proper money.
so long as they get their money too, right? Like,
Yeah, but that's part of
That's
the
kind of like-
conversation. That's what I'm saying.
that's
is,
kind of the problem.
That's what I'm saying is the moment that they go bankrupt, then any new victims don't get anything. Don't get any rights.
Well, no, that's not the issue right now. The biggest
also
issue
probably
right
get
now
less.
regarding yes, I agree. They would get less because the wrong people are getting it, and it's extending the process. And the only people benefiting from the process being extended are lawyers. So it's like that's
Yeah,
kind of like
fair.
the biggest thing.
Blood.
And when it comes down to
sucking
this situation,
lawyers.
when it comes to this
Emailing that
situation,
shit,
so
boss.
from what the video said, so the video said something very interesting, utilizing one of the organizations that are benefiting a lot from this case, and one of the people who were advertising, hey, come get money, you're a Boy Scout, you probably got diddled. They put out a false statement saying that you can go out there and go file a claim anonymously. And then a bunch of that shit started happening and people just started throwing out claims. And I also agree that like the bar for you proving whether or not you got fondled, it was low enough for people to make a claim, which like muddied up the system. Now there was a lot of people who got like their claims rejected because there's like factual inaccuracies in their claims, but then that just kind of begs the question: what it's making the stuff go longer, and then of course the possibility of like wrongful people getting money. So that's kind of like the biggest.
Well,
issue
wait,
here.
do the Boy Scouts not have a list of the kids who were in these groups at these times? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like
these
when you
are
sign
all
up your
That doesn't mean all of them were
yeah,
molested,
because
though.
I could
Exactly.
still come up with information like, hey, I was at this place and here was my leader, and I could be correct about that. I could get a lot of facts.
I'm saying for the Boy Scouts like organization, if they find out that there's this shit going on in their organization by these like certain scout masters, well then it would be easier for you to narrow down the list of at least what happened or who you would reach out to in that case, because then you would have like a list of like their scout groups. No,
the Scoutmasters are basically all dead. That's the.
But is there no database for like is there no database for these, like did you not, when you went to the Boy Scouts, did you not have to sign like a release form or anything?
Yeah,
so like
I don't understand your question. Yes, that is correct.
That it shouldn't be this muddied. You should know who are in these groups, and then that should make the list smaller, so it shouldn't be that muddied.
Yeah, but
correct?
anyone
No?
who's
Am
a
I
Boy
wrong
Scout
here?
at all could just start claiming that.
Yeah, and then you get that.
I went to scout camp, so I get to say, like, I wasn't diddled, so I could just go, hey, I know,
but like once
Yeah,
again,
and then-
wait, real quick. The Boy Scouts are the ones who found the list of Scoutmasters who did the offenses. So what I'm saying is, you would look at the list of who their scout groups were. Is there not like scout groups for specific Scoutmasters? Is that not how? I don't
think there's like a black book.
There can be a lot of intermingling.
Not a
too,
black
between
book.
different-
Like if I sign up for a college class, there's oh my god, history of me
yeah,
being
but
in
there's
the
not a
class.
black book of the predators either. It's not like there's like a.
Well, there was some documentation as to who got. Okay, well, you go right. But you go first.
Yeah, I can respond. So the biggest problem here is the fact that they can't prove whether or not these people are telling the truth about the person who abused them. That's like the biggest issue going on here, because the only thing they have to do is they have to kind of confirm they're in the Boy Scouts, which what you said would help. Confirm they're in the Boy Scouts. Probably have a corroborator, or you can cross-reference their name. Describe the event, and you kind of can make that up. And then third, name the person that abused. And of course, there's a list that you can kind of cherry pick from. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these people are dead, so you can't really confirm with them whether or not they abused you.
Like,
so I don't mean confirm with.
Well, you might get some crazy.
So wait, no, I hold on. I understand the confusion. Ollie. It's not like these people have, like, it's not like the Scoutmasters or staff have to be convicted pedophiles first to make the claim. You could just claim anybody at any point in the Scouts.
Yes.
So that's kind of that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's more what I was wondering. I thought there was like a direct list that they were pulling
No.
from.
No,
because that's what
anyone.
probably made it sound like a little bit earlier that there was like
That's
there were
not my
these Scoutmasters
understanding.
that you could claim to,
I mean,
or maybe I misheard something.
In fact,
No, there is
one of
a list
one
of
my
like
scout
Scoutmasters
leaders-
that were abusers. That list.
That was like
Yeah, but
that was
like-
like put
yeah.
out. That's yeah.
For
okay.
example,
But
one of my
you're not
scout
limited
leaders-
to that list, though, are you?
I
No,
thought-
exactly.
yeah,
Because
I thought-
No,
I
you're
thought it
not,
was-
you're not.
No, you're
One of
not.
my scout leaders
Okay.
died of
No.
cancer. I could just say that he abused me. And
Right.
Okay, fair.
genuinely,
Well, yeah, you're also
fair,
going to get these crazy people that are going to sue and be
Well-
like, hey, I want to get on this list because I was the only one who wasn't diddled in the group or something. And then you get like,
Yeah.
or like other crazy reasons. Yeah, I mean, you
and
act like this isn't a thing people do, though. They're like crazy.
I am acting like that's
another-
a thing that people don't do. Yes.
Yeah,
What?
and people are going to do it just to make money. I mean, all these reasons.
That's more likely.
I mean, both are like
And another thing is that like so let's say you were in a scout troop, right? But the scout troop you were in, the guy wasn't accused of diddling, and you don't want to accuse that guy, right? You want to put his name out there. Well, you have another option, right? And that's the jamborees, right? Like the Boy Scouts get together in big groups, right? Like they like all across the region, right? They do these big jamborees. Well, that's why I was diddled by this other guy who was at the jamboree, right? There's so many opportunities for this.
Fair.
Yeah, but I do think. Go ahead.
I just want to say on top of that, I mean, so that's one issue that I think is concerning. Of just like, well, who cares? They can just go bankrupt. But the other concern I have is, no, I'm sorry, like I don't an organ like what? Okay, just bankrupt the Catholic Church, just bankrupt the Mormons. No, I think that like organizations very often over time change in character, they change in staff, they change in nature. I don't think that just because the Scouts had like a scandal that means they should just disappear.
Well, if they had a history of covering it up, and they have a history of
those specific people,
I don't know if you get. I don't know if you get to just kind of bounce back from
no,
as an
that's
organization.
a good point, and I appreciate Laxwood bringing it up because we often reify these ideas of organizations, and it bothers me about like it's the same way that the left talks about like the FBI. It's like, okay, well, those are new fucking people in there. It's not like. It's not like the people who were there. Whatever. I'm bringing this.
New people, old tricks. You're gonna have a bunch of the new people doing the old tricks.
Yeah,
that's kind of the issue with them being new people.
You're saying it like it's necessarily necessarily hereditary. There could be a lot of things that just die out when people leave.
But what's the likelihood of it dying out just
I
off
don't
the
know.
whim?
What's the likelihood of it continuing? You don't know either.
I mean, higher than it just dying out.
I don't know. You're saying
I'll stake that.
I am sympathetic to this argument in general, right? I think like when Lactoid applies this to the Boy Scouts, I would agree, right? Like there was a point in the organization, things have changed, they can change, right? Like and the Boy Scouts have been existed for a very short amount of time. Was it like a century or so, right? They've existed. Okay, right? I actually disagree when we're talking about the Catholic Church.
You got
the
Catholic Church out of the way
around for centuries. Like the Catholic abuse scandals, right? They went back decades, right? And the point that they stopped wasn't like the point where it began. That was just like the oldest victims that we could find.
I understand,
right?
but what if
we're not bankrupting the Catholic Church?
I'm finished. I know.
I do want to respond. Yeah, go ahead.
I would love to hear your thoughts.
Go ahead.
But yeah, like so and I'm not talking about bankrupting them, right? My point is that like defining their character. Well, the Catholic Church, right? Like there's no reason to believe that this was a new thing that happened in this century or the last century or the century before that. In fact, we have evidence going back like centuries, like just in American history. We have evidence, right? This happening in the with the Native American schools where they like kidnap the kids and put them in the charge of the Catholic Church, right? There's abuse happening there. Like if the farther you go back, we can keep finding evidence of this, right? Fucking Martin Luther, not King, Martin Luther, when he was making complaints about the Catholic Church, talked about like child rape in the Vatican.
Yeah, Martin Luther King had different allegations.
Neither King had different allegations.
Those were way less severe.
But
cheating. Who
but
the fuck cares?
Not just cheating.
But understand this. Like, and this is I had to tell my father this when this was happy because my father's Catholic. But I'm like, you got to think about this. the further back in the past with the and this is not true about the Boy Scouts, well, it's not in the same way, but like, or most other organizations, but for the Catholic Church, the further back in the past, the more powerful the Catholic Church has been, right? The less accountable. Remember, and at some point in Europe, right, the Catholic Church was responsible for naming kings. Kings bowed to the Pope, right? Like, so, like, that organization, right, back then, do you think they were more accountable, more caring about the kids, and like in the pedophiles and
who the fuck is defending the Catholic Church from the 1500s?
Hold on, wait a minute. I'm making a point. I'm responding to Lagtoid and making a point, right?
Waiting for the point to land.
So Lagtoid talked about, like, in the thing I'm specifically responding to is the character, right? Yes. So I could think, yeah, the character of the church, right, has been the one of abuse for literal centuries. Right, but again, I don't apply this to the Boy Scouts. That's a different thing.
Wait, why don't you apply it to the Boy Scouts? Since its inception, since its beginnings, it had these problems. So then, like, I would apply it directly.
I think Prime is hitting on something. Okay, I want to respond to Prime. I think. Go ahead.
Well, I'm responding, so then Gibbs can go. I think my issue here is that whatever. I saw this. I've seen this so many times. I can use so many different examples. But, like, I guess my question is, what if the next pope? I actually forget who's pope right now.
He's the American
USA Pope.
Yeah, what's his name? I forgot his name.
I don't know.
Current Pope?
Charlie Chicago.
I believe in real Jesus.
Okay,
Is it
apparently no
Leo?
one knows. Pope
Pope
Chicago.
Francis, keep saying it. Pope Francis.
Francis?
I heard a bunch
Francis
of
is
Leos.
I thought it was.
Were you talking about the current one or the last one?
I don't
Yeah,
fucking
Francis
Pope
is
Chicago.
Francis
Pope
is dead.
Chicago.
Francis was the
I don't
last
care.
Pope.
I don't care.
Okay.
Doesn't-
Pope Chicago. Let's go.
No,
That's
call
what
him
I'm
by
doing,
his
and
name.
everyone
Please.
keeps
Chicago.
having
I like
a
him.
conversation that I don't care about. Okay,
No,
when Pope Chicago comes to the scene, and he goes, let's just say he does this. Okay, I don't actually know if he did, but let's say he goes super
I guess I was
hardcore,
wrong.
and he goes, we have
It is
to
Leo.
I
said Leo.
uproot all of this
sorry.
abuse.
It's okay.
We have to be recognized. We have to recognize all of the harm that we've done. We should do restitution for all the information that we have. We should kick out every single person who is part of these convictions. And he continues to do this, and he basically goes full ham against essentially, centuries.
Drains the swamp.
Yeah, he drains the swamp. Is that still the Catholic Church?
Yeah, is the Catholic Church
The Catholic Church about raping is still the Catholic Church.
Are you asking, like, are we really Catholics? If we
No,
don't-
because Ollie seems to make the claim that, like, raping is part of the tenets of the Catholic Church, and that's why it must be disrupted.
No, it's
And I'm
part
like,
of the organization.
it's a
part
brand
of the
issue.
organization
It needs
of the
to be
church.
brand.
It's a brand issue, of course, but
No,
of course I can agree it's a brand issue.
It's when
But, like,
when you have lonely men in charge of groups of little boys, these things are probably going to happen, which is probably the issue with the Boy Scouts is you have these lonely men in charge of groups of little boys. It's probably things are going to happen.
That actually ties into what I want to say directly.
Well, Hunter's not done yet. Hunter's not done yet. Let him have. Let him
Don't worry,
ball.
Gibbs. We'll go to you afterwards.
You're not tackling what I'm saying, because what you're
am.
saying is we should just prevent kids from being around lonely adults. We should essentially not have churches. We shouldn't have organizations. It's not that we should.
No, I didn't say you shouldn't have churches or to have no way. I didn't
That
say
was
you
the
shouldn't have
angle that
churches
you
or organizations.
That's the angle that you positioned at.
No, supervise it better.
Youth pastors
No,
are
I-
bad too.
Cool. So why can't the Catholic Church do that? It seems like you want
Because they're not doing that. So like they can do that. And if they want to do the rebrand and Pope Leo wants to come out and be like, yo, I'm going to drain the swamp and get all the diddlers out. We're going to do restitutions. Game. But they're not doing that. So like I don't believe that they're going to. So as of right now, as it stands, I don't really see the change that you want me to see in the people. You know?
I do think that the change. I don't know enough about the Catholic Church rebranding, honestly, but I do
what
know
about
that
the Boy
they did
Scouts?
a distinct change with the Boy Scouts. Like they really pushed
They changed their
hard
name
against like.
Were they?
Yeah, sure, but they also like.
I wasn't saying that facetiously.
Changed a
I'm
lot of
saying
the
they like
rules.
literally changed the brand.
And
they're
speaking
not even
as like a
just boys
Mormon,
anymore.
speaking as a Mormon, it used to be actually required by doctrine that I have to speak alone to a bishop. They changed that so a woman always has to be in the room. That's like a policy change. And I guess my question is like, it feels weird when we're not allowing policy changes to affect the organization, where you still say that the entire thing needs to go up in flames.
I think a religious group and a club are different, but
Yeah.
in terms of the group or the organization, they can institute this change. My issue is that we'd have to wait 10, 15 years down the line to see if the change actually happened. And like, that's just not a risk I'm really willing to like gamble with.
But it's not even a gamble. You're not even, it's just, they're different people and they're implementing different
Prime was
things.
saying this group hasn't existed for about a century. So like, right, this is a new group, and then within its inception, these issues have happened. These are new. These are pretty big issues. New issues have happened. So like for me, that organization is tainted, and I don't necessarily believe that these people have like, if they've let this shit happen in the past, maybe it went under their eyes, right? Maybe they weren't good at investigation, or maybe they weren't good at weeding out the people that they needed to hire. Maybe they didn't have good observations, but like their negligence doesn't tell me that like, oh, okay, I should give them another chance.
Okay,
like
sure.
Hunter,
I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna end with this. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to ask you before you end.
Yeah.
Would you let like, do you think that like the Klan could rebrand? Like, because as like a white, men's gentleman club type thing.
Okay.
Or do you think
they have rebranded the SPLC now. That's
You're so annoying. I would say that if you had a Klansman, the next Grand Wizard or whatever,
because that's like, what David Duke's goal was technically.
But he was rebranding. But
did they want to brand away from white supremacy?
Exactly. I think he was still like, hey, I like having a white ethno state, but I think we could be chill about it.
It's not
they didn't want to be violent. That was part of the
rebrand. That's my issue. My issue wasn't. Well, I mean, the issue was also violence, but it's not just. It doesn't get fixed when you just remove the violence.
He was like white supremacists dressed in suits, not like the robe.
Yeah,
stuff,
exactly.
Right? Like,
there's
let's update our wardrobe.
That's
people.
step one of the rebrand, though.
That's not my issue with the KKK.
But I'm saying, do you think that they could change it enough and still be what it is? Or do you feel like
I think that if a Grand Wizard is like, hey, genuinely, we're getting rid of all of this and we're just going to be brothers and we're going to have some black people involved, I don't think that a single it's such a huge shakeup and it's such a core tenet of what the Ku Klux Klan stands for that I don't think that it would be able to handle that change. Okay. But if it could, then sure.
Well, no, if you,
I see the same thing about the. Hold on. Not only do I agree with you, the Democratic Party, I agree with you because the Democratic Party was racist as fuck, and now I stand behind it.
Are you talking about the party switch? No, but what I want to say, like the last thing about this, because I don't think we're going to come back to it, is if you've talked to people or see interviews of people who actually are members of the Klan, the unfortunate reality or the reality of it is that it's not necessarily I think it's as bad as we think it is. Yeah, but it's not the caricature we think it is.
It's also a communal thing to them, right?
No, but I'm just saying, if you ask a Klansman, like if you say they're like, oh yeah, you don't think black people should exist, they're not going to say that. They're going to say that like there's good black people, there's good white people. He's like,
they should just get the fuck out of here.
No, they don't say that. That's what I'm saying. That's
okay. What do they say? What do they say?
They typically say that they know and they've met black people who were fine and upstanding.
Okay, and then what do we do? What do you stand for?
But they just stand for white rights. They feel like they've been stepped on. They're the true minority of the country.
So no policy issues, no policy distinction.
No,
you don't. I mean, you don't think.
In reality, it's a reason why they get indoctrinated people in.
I don't know. I'm gonna have a lot of structural issues with the KKK. I'm not gonna be defending them today.
For sure, but I'm just saying that people don't get swindled into it because they think they're joining the evil organization.
I agree with you. I agree that there's a communal aspect to it, but
not just communal. I'm saying the things that they advocate for, like on paper, like aren't as crazy, like what they do in action.
They're not just like a crazy white nationalist group, according to these people that are joining up. It's not just a crazy white nationalist group.
I know.
They are.
There's a more human.
Sort of the Groypers, but like there's a reason why Mexicans join the Groypers.
I agree. Wait, hold on. Of course, but I'm just saying they also stand for white ethno states, and that shit is disgusting to me. So no, I'm not going to defend them. And that's.
So let's
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
we can move it away. Yeah.
I just want to move forward. I'm going to go to Gibbs, but thank you to Respect for 6 years of support, like my longest running supporter, right? Shout out to you for resubbing. Thank you for sticking with us for all this time. I hope you're still in Chaplain. Yeah, Respect, thank you so much for the kindness.
6 years of respect.
6 years of respect, right? Unlike the disrespect they get from lots of you people for years and years at a time. But thank you so much. It was really kind of you. Seriously, shout out to you. 72 months. That's amazing. I just wanted to take time to say that I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to our friend Gibbs.
Yeah, so I think that you and Ali have identified something, but and y'all are saying character, but I think the character that might be an issue, but it's like a secondary or issue, or it's a resulting issue of what the actual problem is, right? Which is, I think that Ali kind of hit the nail on the head when it's identifying certain conditions, and I think it's okay, having a group like the Boy Scouts or the Catholic Church where you have single males who are generally not married, or if they are married, they're kind of sus, taking men or taking young boys alone out to areas where they have no supervision, or if they do have supervision, it's someone else that's of the same philosophy as them, who might be, also a diddler or something, and they have way too much power. There's all sorts of organizations like this that I think maybe we should probably look at. Anytime, you brought up the policy changes that the Latter-day Saints did, right, where they have a woman always in the room. There's been all sorts of revisions through a lot of churches to avoid this, right? And I'm not talking about some of these things where only men should be deacons or elders in the church. That's we're talking about grown adults. Whatever's happening,
the Mormon
it's one thing, but then it's having Papa Gibbs knows us religion, baby. I told you these degrees weren't told bullshit. And so when I'm sitting over here, listening to what y'all are saying, I think policy's into it, but I think that when we should be really concerned, because it's how these groups are getting these people in these positions. It's a certain set of all the same groups have all the same attributes, and Ali named several of them. And I think we should start taking a look at any group that's maybe doing this.
Just to course correct,
because
I
think
hold on. Just to immediately discredit something that you said. No scoutmaster in the Mormon Church is unmarried.
Oh, I'm not saying that specifically, right? I'm saying even if they are married, right, you're putting them in a position where you have.
I understand, but you're saying there's these distinct character traits that crop up again and again.
Yeah, but people in the Mormon people in the Mormon Church aren't married because they love their wives or they want to have. That's just kind of something that you do, something that you fell into, right? Didn't you just get married because that's what you do? And
let me finish. Hold on, real quick, because there's other examples.
So them being married isn't the issue.
Let a friend Gibbs finish. Please, Gibbs.
Yeah, because and we can use married people too. We can look at youth ministers having the grooming conversation and include in them. I know tons of youth ministers that immediately got married to someone the minute they turned 18. It's wait a minute, that's pretty sus that y'all are now married 3 weeks after she turned 18. There's all these, and I think it's an attribute. Maybe it's not just the married aspect, but it's this attribute of putting adults in positions where there's no overview, and we can look at and with a bunch of kids where they have the ability to be alone with them, and we should maybe start taking a look at all these groups, because I think it's not necessarily the character, because I think but it's the situation draws people of a certain character to these places, and I think there needs to be some sort of more oversight, whether it's in a private or in the religious aspect or governmental, but that's where we need to start looking, as opposed to it's the conservative Catholics, or it's the whatever, because it seems to be these situations pop up in every group, right, left, or whatever, if these conditions are met. It's kind of what I'm arguing.
Okay, I want to throw in one more thing. I don't disagree with anything Gibbs is saying, which is what's confusing me, because he's saying it like it disagrees with anything that I'm saying.
I didn't say
I'm also not.
This was
okay.
This
Great.
Disagreeing with him now.
Great. Then me and you are tight on this.
I was just saying, because Prime was saying it's the character, and I think it's more the situation.
I'm not defending the Boy Scouts or the Mormon Church. If you guys
so Ali, just I do have a question about the church thing, about the. Do we think that having a woman in the room with a deacon and the young boy really, what level of protection do we think that adds?
Some level,
more
minimal.
I feel very minimal, because I feel the women working within the church were probably also part of the cover-up scandals of the church. I
think that's a poor understanding of how these sort of situations occur.
Yeah,
as if everyone sort of knows
that the nuns would defend the priests.
Yeah, no, but no. But the nuns defend the priests because they believe that Satan has injected these minds to corrupt them. It's not because they genuinely think that it's happening, and they're we have to defend them anyway.
But they're part of the cover. But they're still part of the cover up nonetheless. And so them being in the room
doesn't. Why do you keep pivoting away from my point? My point is only that largely speaking, a lot of these women were aware or saw these incidents occur. They would either one happen far less, or two, they would be broadcasted way more often. Now, I'm not saying that's sufficient. Sure, there's a lot more shit we could be doing. If you want to say that's minimal, okay, fair enough. We could be doing more things.
Generally, the more witnesses.
But, like,
well, I'm kind of just speaking to like the fact of like the rebrand doesn't really matter. The rebrand could just be exactly that, which is like a rebrand to cover up. Hey, let's just make this less conspicuous.
But this comes back to what I was saying to you and Prime, is if you eliminate this like condition, right? Then like, because I think the condition draws.
How do you eliminate the condition?
Well, that's the question, right? So like, okay, he talked about his policy prescription was include a woman, and then he's like one-on-one.
That's not my fucking policy.
No, okay, no, that's not your policy, but it was a policy prescription. You just said that the Church of Latter-day Saints is implemented, right? So like if we're like, I guess, what is the policy prescription? I mean, you have to do something. I would argue that's probably at least a start. You know, like maybe like don't have organizations that are like, let's take a bunch of kids out to the woods with 2 adults and that have no supervision other than that. Like, I mean, maybe that's another good start. Like,
well, isn't adult supervision? So like, what other supervision would you?
Yeah, but are they unrelated to you? Like, at least, like, I mean, I don't know. It seems pretty suspicious.
Yeah, well, I can let me.
The
try
unrelated part, believe me, is not the issue.
Let me.
I mean, sure.
This kind of like dovetails what I was going to say,
agree.
right? So, like, I wanted.
I mean,
to,
we're just not going to trust parents ever.
I wanted to respond.
Stop!
To Gibbs.
You're such a conservative. Sometimes it pisses me off.
I wanted to respond to Gibbs, and then I'd like, you know, if Radel has more to say, and then lag to it, and then our friend Doobie. I want Doobie to jump in at some point. I haven't forgotten about you, but I'm just going to respond quickly to what Gibbs said first. Yeah, so like I like what you said like a little while ago, Gibbs. At first I was going to like give you some pushback, but you kind of rescued it, because it's not simply lonely men, right? You were saying that at first, but then you adjusted your statement. Like, I think conditions of abuse simply have to deal with anytime there is a person who is disadvantaged, right? Who's who relies on other people without accountability, right? And this disadvantage can look like a lot of things. Now, oftentimes it's children, right? Children are a good one, right? It can be maybe a person who's elderly, right? We've seen elderly abuse, right? It could be because you're in a hospital, right? You're in a hospital, you're under care of nurses or something, whatever, right? Like we've seen hospital abuse. We've seen I mean, how
executive abuse, where they do the same thing to old people, and they become their power of attorney. Same exact.
Yeah, oh yeah. It could be employer-employee, right? Because you just have a level of power of this other person, right? And there's no accountability. There's no one watching you, right? That you have to deal with, right? Once you have that ability, abuse is going to happen. Wait long enough, right? Just like was it Godwin's law, right? Eventually, like, people are going to bring up Hitler, right? Like, eventually someone's going to get abused when you have the situation of unaccountability with disadvantaged individuals. So like 100% I agree with you there. Your pushback against to me was about like the Catholic Church and saying, well,
yeah, I think anytime you have a situation, it's going to bring people of that character to it, no matter if it's religious, whether it's like an elder thing. Like, I don't think there's a way to avoid this unless you have like some sort of like guardrails. I don't really know what those look like.
Yeah. I would. Okay. I think it's a fair pushback against my attacks of the Catholic Church. It's just that literally fucking centuries of seemingly centuries of this, right? I don't know if there's any organization. I was going to say it's a pedophile organization, be the Catholic Church. If they've been doing it for centuries, if anyone gets that jacket, it's going to be the Catholic Church. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I guess even in that though, right? Like, it's because it goes back to, is it because it's the Catholic Church, or is it because like it's this powerful organization with no oversight? Yeah, I mean, but every powerful organization in like the Middle Ages is probably going to be equally as bad, just to scale, right? Like, yeah, I don't know,
but I don't know if there's a bigger pedophile ring like in the history of humanity. Honestly, like bigger, like an organization that's continued, right? The Catholic Church is an incredible organization that's continued for like a millennia, right? Multiple millennia. I don't know if there's a bigger pedophile ring like on the planet in human history. So like, if anyone's going to get that jacket, I'm going to be the Catholic Church.
Sure,
but like I understand what you're saying though, and I think there's a lot of merit to that. I want and in terms of like it has to be accountability. You have to like have like whoever these people are, right? They're like youth leaders. They need to be somehow accountable, right? People need to be checking with them. People who have like conflicting interests, right? Because like not that like maybe have a different reporting structure. There's a ton of ways you can do these things. It's possible, but we have to explore it. So I want to give Rodell Lactoid, and then I'm going to try to get Doobie in, and then maybe Bam after that. We'll see. I don't know. All right, let's go to Rodell.
So I'll try to be brief as best I can. And I do think there's a distinction between like religious organizations and like community groups. It's hard to really tell a religious institution that has been here for a long time and has like religion as its backing, with like moral values that are supposed to be good, to get rid of something like that. It's just like, I don't know how we do that unless, aliens appear, then maybe. So when it comes down to it, I don't see religious institutions ever going away, but I do think with someone like a Pope Leo, hopefully, he does make drastic changes to the Catholic Church, more kind of progressive ideas, not progressive politically, but progressive in terms of thinking forward, in terms of how humanity is progressing, and changing the organization is probably the best way to kind of go about these like religious institutions, but they're hard to deal with in general. So I do think that's a different conversation. As for like the Boy Scout stuff, I mean, they're an organization that obviously had a really huge thing regarding the pedophilia and the sexual abuse and stuff like that. And although I understand the concept of like, why can't you just like get rid of the bad people and then change? But I do think it's problematic with like the cover up and like the thousands of boys that were a part of the scheme that are still currently getting litigated. So I do think the best course scenario is not necessarily get rid of the Boy Scouts, because I think there's value in teaching them some of the lessons that you teach in Scouts. I'm fine with them, what they did, rebranded, created a different organization, became much more progressive, because even before like the pedophilia stuff started really hammering them, they were decreasing in membership. That was something that was happening. Of course, there was like a big thing regarding like, should girls join the organization, regarding gay boys and all that stuff. So they've changed quite a bit, becoming a little bit more progressive. And I do think one of the things that they should note regarding the people and the members is like, the people obviously need proper training in terms of like, hey, we got to make sure you're qualified to be around kids and not a weirdo. And kids need to really know how to deal with like discussing situations like this. And that's just a reality of the situation. Kind of like for me, at the very least, maybe this is the same for Bam and Prime Kai. Like, I was definitely taught that I'm a brown individual, black individual, and I know how to act when I'm around certain people, certain neighborhoods, and cops. I was taught that very young. It was probably a good lesson to learn. So these are probably things like when you're around an adult and they're starting acting a little weird, you probably should say something. Maybe they have some device to notify the authorities quickly. There's probably things you could put in there, but I do think the Boy Scouts, the original one, they ruined their chance. And now this new version, they can do some good stuff. Who knows?
Prime, can I respond, or is it not my turn? It's okay.
If you want to respond, it's fine.
Okay, cool. I'm going to respond real quick. Also, something's going on with your audio, I'm sure you know. Here, I don't understand. Like, on the one hand, I do understand what we're talking about when we talk about like the organization of the Boy Scouts. But on the other hand, I genuinely sometimes have no idea what we're talking about. Like, let me just flesh this out. On the one hand, we could have the BSA that completely revamps how it operates and implements a whole bunch of rules, changes a whole bunch of requirements, fires a bunch of people, hires a bunch of people. And then on the other hand, we have a completely new organization that is has the same rules has the same rules, like implements these changes, creates all of these policies. Who do you think they're going to be hiring if not ex-Boy Scout members? I don't see a difference between the two scenarios. I genuinely
the group
don't.
Shouldn't exist anymore.
No. But you're advocating for a second group.
No, I'm advocating for that group, or at least it operating in the way that it's been operating, completely be dismantled.
No one is saying that
you want to have
groups.
You want to have groups. You can have them in community centers in public. No more of this camping bullshit. No more. Like you would have to completely change the group. It wouldn't be the same group anymore.
Cool. If you fundamentally change the group but keep the name, that's fine, right?
I mean, no, because the name itself is tainted. Anytime you look up Boy Scouts of America, the name comes up as tainted. So when you're sending your kids to the Boy Scouts of America, you're sending them to the diddle group. That's just what it is, man. I'm sorry. But like the BSA has been tainted by the fact that they had a bunch of people diddling these kids, doing this fucked up shit, and now the name is tainted. So people don't want to associate with that name anymore. Like, I mean,
all
that's
I'll
obvious.
say is
the name and the history.
This is such a way to make absolutely no change, but just invoke like.
How is it making no change?
Because I established that there's that we could either fundamentally change them or create a group that's
do
fundamentally
both.
different.
Why not do both?
Hey, Hunter,
Ollie,
I'm
you're
willing
not
to be.
consistent.
I'm willing to be, because this is not something my expertise. I researched this shit 2 hours ago.
No.
But hold on.
Go ahead,
This is my question to you.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to like the video I saw, when they're referencing the Scouting of America, they're very different in terms of like adding girls and allowing gay people in there. That's not the same thing. This is not the same.
That's probably worse. That's probably worse, actually.
Don't listen to Ali. I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The group that had a history of child misconduct now adds women or adds girls.
Well, it's a
and
different
gay people to the group.
organization.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
a different
Well, no, to
Exactly.
Hunter's point, it's not a different organization. It's an organization with a different name that they're going to hire the same people that were in the original organization.
Well, I don't know,
because that was your question, right, Hunter? Who do you think they're going to hire other than old Boy Scouts?
You're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying it is a distinction without a difference. It's a distinction without a difference to create a new organization or fundamentally change the first one.
Wait, why can't
whether or not the Boy Scouts exist is a distinction without a difference. It does not matter. It should be a moot point. That's what I'm arguing.
Fair. So then, like,
we should change it, obviously, but we're so obsessed with the organization.
No, I don't think. Wait.
But it's just going to reassemble into.
And that's why I said you'd have to completely change how the organization operates if you're going to continue to have said organization.
Everyone's saying that. Everyone's saying that.
We're not just not having that organization at all anymore. Nobody.
Well, that's originally what I was saying. He's saying that you're always going to have that organization exist. That type of organization is always going to exist regardless of what the name is, right? You're always going to have some type of boys club within this country.
I don't think I'm being understood at all. So I'll just pivot it somewhere else. Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't see why you're not more okay with removing yourself from the history and the name. Because that's like the biggest
because to me it's an impotent point. It's an aesthetic choice. It doesn't actually do anything to fix any problems or help the victims. All you're doing is just changing the name on the label. Like, I don't fucking care about the label. I want kids to stop being abused.
Well, the company wants to stay alive.
We focus on so much. Oh, the Boy Scouts of America need to crumble. It's like, okay, how about some systemic changes so we just stop having whatever. I can't think of any particular systemic changes, but I'm sure we could come up with some. And then the Boy Scouts are privy to them, and then the kids stop getting abused. I don't get the aesthetic changes.
I don't know. You got children in the woods.
What?
I think it's probably just children in the woods. I think you take children out to the woods overnight.
Cool. As long as we implement and
trips
and
to
honestly,
the public mall
to me, that was the coolest part of Boy Scouts is when you win. Hey, you're gonna go out in the fucking woods, and all you get is a tarp, and all you get is you have to radio someone, and you have to figure that shit out. It was so cool. It was so whatever. Yeah. I'm just saying.
I've been
so wait
again. It's a cool experience, but it's a
no. I understand.
So Hunter,
if the risks aren't worth it, then we got to shut it down.
So Hunter, you're annoyed with the fact that people are like kind of focused on like dismantling the Boy Scouts of America, right? Like you're like, ooh, it doesn't matter if the organization exists. The systemic issue is the problem. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yes,
the focus on the Boy Scouts of America, right? But like, I mean, the issue is this group did this thing.
I don't know what that means. Like, I genuinely don't know what that means. Yeah, when you say this group,
the Boy Scouts of America have this problem. Yes,
it's comprised of individuals.
But the name is tarnished, right? Like for going forward for that group wanting to operate, the name is tarnished. So like them changing their name. But when people are saying they want to dismantle the Boy, when people are saying they want to destroy the group, they're saying they want to destroy the action. It's just this is the group that they can name that did the action. So yes, they want to destroy that group and that action.
That's what people are trying to do, but they're doing it in the most dumb way possible. That's all I'm saying.
By attacking the group that did the thing.
By attacking the aesthetics. By attacking the
group name is the aesthetics now?
Yes. Yes, it's
I mean,
just
did we have the names of like all? Do we know the names of all the perpetrators, or can there be people within this organization that we don't know?
I'm sure that there could be people inside those groups.
So then, like, it makes sense to attack the organization's name versus individuals' names, right? Do you think that those people
could maybe just move to a different organization, especially if the Boy Scout starts crumbling? They could just move to the other organization.
Well, they could, which is why me and Gibbs are like, oh, well, I mean, probably like these organizations don't operate correctly, and in the way that we want them to. And they probably can't operate, and they probably can't operate in the way that we would want them to operate, right? They're probably not going to logistically be able to do that. So, like, these groups shouldn't exist at that rate, right?
Yeah. So what's the point here?
You keep pivoting into new. It's like I'm saying, hold on, and it's an aesthetic choice. Why don't we just talk about the substance? And you're like, no, it's not about the aesthetic choice. I'm like, yeah, it is. And then I try to buckle you down.
No, because the substance
is. Listen, you just pivot to the substance.
You're just mad that people are attacking the group. You're just mad that people are attacking the group while also attacking the substance. It's just you just don't.
Hunter. Yeah. So you think? I agree that I think what you're trying to say is like there's still an issue because of like the organization potentially could obviously still relate to the other organization. It could have the same structural issues. It could have the same people. Like I understand that concept if that happens. I have no idea if they're hiring the same people. I have no idea if they haven't changed certain structural issues. The one thing I can say, and I'm curious on what you think about this, because I do think you agree that girls joining Boy Scouts is a big deal, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was crazy.
So,
and that's
actually huge. Just Scouts now and not Boy Scouts.
Yeah, and that's why
now it's just Scouts
disassembled from it because they believe so much in gender roles. They're like, we don't
considering they made such a huge progressive change. You don't think they'll make more progressive changes?
Of course,
following all the issues from Boy Scouts.
Absolutely.
I don't think that. I think that, but the thing that Ali and I are saying is that
I don't think they will.
Problem. Yeah. I think what Ali and I are saying though is that like in this situation, there seems to be this condition across like all sorts of metrics, whether it's religious, whether it's like political, but certain conditions like enable certain like a certain type of person to go in and abuse it. Right.
I agree.
And I know you do. Hold on. Let me just here's my thing though. Right. I guess what Ali and I are advocating is like, okay, we either get rid of this organization, period, and I don't just mean the organization, but this type of organization. Like maybe we have no more like Scout, like in general of any type. Like there's no like, hey, Johnny Woodsman organization, I guess, or whatever either.
Then argue for that.
That's what we're trying to do here. Or you would have to have some sort of extreme oversight by an outside party that would come and look at this because like it seems like it can't be trusted to be done internally.
Cool. I agree with you. Neither of those situations are just banning the Boy Scouts from existing. It's not just crumbling.
The first one was banning them from existing.
No, it's not. No. It's crumbling all of them.
The first one literally was that. It was banning all organizations.
All of them. It's crumbling all of the institutions that do this.
Right. That was
like cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So, this is the institution or organization that we're talking about specifically right now. Like,
yeah. I don't know.
I feel like I've been making my point.
It's the lead one for. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry. Go ahead.
I haven't said anything in a while because I don't care that much about this. But my strongest opinion is honestly, you probably just need like 3 to 4 scouts at a time. You probably just shouldn't be one. Like we shouldn't trust Scout Master 1.
No, they should be just operating in public areas.
And that doesn't prove anything. They can do it.
Operate in community centers or don't operate. Make it that easy.
Well,
community centers are fully public. There's a bunch of people around, parents and everything.
The wood stuff part of it is like a big portion. Like I do think they'll eventually do a camping trip. But we probably just should be more than one person. You probably like at least if you can't find like 3 people, you don't do it.
Yeah, but that's
sure those 3 people.
Or they assign doing it in the national park where a park ranger is assigned overnight.
Sure. But that's how I grew up. That's where I'm confused. Is like where is this happening?
Could be doing it too.
And you can have like all the parents have.
I agree.
Where do you go camping on any camping site? Well, no.
Wait, hold on. Let me say this.
Every parent's not going to want to go do it.
What I want to say is I am confused.
You don't get to go though.
I am confused by this because I grew up where obviously you're going to have like 3 or 4 adults there and you're going to have like 10 to 12 kids. And I was always confused. It's like, wait, how could abuse be happening? And obviously abuse is happening nonetheless. So I clearly don't have a good understanding of like how to fix these issues. So I think when we have these just like, oh, well, let's just have
I think
maybe you hire a game warden every time they go camping. They have to bring a game warden with them.
I know there's
I'm not saying
good ideas. I'm just saying there's
I think you came up in the process of them trying to like sort through things. Like that doesn't mean obviously things still happen, but like there was.
I'm 30 years old.
I'm saying that there was a big portion of. I'm 32. You think that you were in the peak? No, I'm about to say the second.
No, I was before the peak.
Way before you.
I was before the peak.
No, the peak wasn't 2000. The peak was probably in the 70s.
Stop. Not the peak.
I get you're talking about this case might be
the peak of the blowback. No, the peak of the blowback.
Oh, the peak of the blowback.
Saying we were
that's I'm talking about a different thing. I'm talking
no,
about
no. We're talking about the same thing because you're saying, well, sure, they're trying to do some PR stunts right here, but no, they don't care about the PR when I was a kid because they didn't have a lot of blowback. So I'm just saying this is complicated.
I think it was a common thing.
I'm
saying that like
I agree. Why am I being so misunderstood so easily?
You're just not speaking clearly, Hunter.
I feel like you're disagreeing on
clearly.
I feel like you agree with the broader point, but you're disagreeing on like minute things, and then that's where we're getting hung up.
I don't know. You're very passionate about this group because you're a member of it, and that's fine. But I'm just saying.
No, I don't think
you're saying they're like, oh, when I grew,
No, he said he wasn't hugely invested.
Correct.
You grew up in a
Thank you, Corey.
Yes, everyone says that. That doesn't make it not true. It doesn't make it true because he's.
I wouldn't call him a liar.
He wouldn't have this conversation.
That way. I think
I am. I'm just saying.
Okay.
All right.
That's all. You're being honest about that.
I'm just gonna finish my sentence. Stop talking. There may be sure you may have came up at a time where there were 3 or 4 people, but again, I know people from the 80s, 70s. There was one guy who went out with the boys. That was a very common occurrence
for sure.
So don't say that what you did was the norm. You came through after the change.
No. You're misunderstanding my point again. All I'm saying is that
you said you didn't know how it could happen.
Just shut the fuck up and listen real quick.
No, you were doing that to me, so I'm doing it to you. It doesn't feel good.
Okay, just look. All I'm saying is there was abuse that happened around me, and yet there were like 4 or 5 adults. So clearly that's not the issue. Clearly that's not the answer. That doesn't just solve everything here.
It doesn't solve anything, but it's better than the one guy going out there.
Maybe it's better. I'm just saying when we have these easy answers, like, oh well, let's just have more adults. Sometimes the abuse is a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's it.
You're still
there's no answer to everything.
I'm not mitigating anything.
Everything's always more
still be doing that.
I didn't. No. I'm saying with solutions that they're advocating for, they're trying to mitigate the problem. That's what I said. Not you mitigating the problem. Because like the idea, like if you propose something like every kid, the only way you can go out to camp, every kid has to come with their parent. If you can't, then you can't. It's not. But before you disagree with the solution, the only reason why the solution is being proposed is to mitigate the issue. There's foolproof plans, foolproof solutions don't exist.
That's fair for sure.
Well, abstinence of those things, right? If no one goes camping,
well, I think everyone's in favor of it.
Well, there you go. That's a foolproof plan. That's a foolproof plan right there. Nobody goes.
But I mean, if the parents going, then what's the point of this? I mean, unless the parents are inept, you can take your kids camping on your own.
School. Does every teacher have to come to school?
Because it's a group activity, they have the resources. Yeah, it's like a field trip.
So I want to. Okay, so I feel like we've done this part. Okay, Doobie, first I want to hear your thoughts. Right, where you're at with this? You were saying that we should get rid of statute of limitations altogether. Oh, and just. Our friend Lactwood had to step out. Shit came up. So hopefully everything's okay for our friend. So you said you wanted to get rid of statute of limitations altogether. But what our friend Lactwood was saying, what I was saying too, is that that puts us in a bind. At some point, how do you put up a credible defense, against this? What would that look like in a world where we simply got rid of the statute of limitations altogether for sexual assault?
I think that so what I said is that we should get rid of the statute of limitations, but also require evidence, right? More evidence than somebody saying they remember something happened and they told a friend at some point. I think that if someone has strong evidence, even 15 years later, 20 years later, I don't think there's a good reason that shouldn't be brought forward. Now, obviously, if the evidence isn't strong and bringing it forward 15 years later, I mean, obviously that should be taken into account, right? That they are claiming this thing, it's unfalsifiable because we can't prove anything either way. And, I think those kind of cases should be not thrown out like on their face, but there needs to be a standard of evidence like required for considering them seriously. And I think we can find a balance there
For
without
criminal or civil
throwing
case?
them all out. I'm saying criminal.
For a criminal case, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's just real. Like most, I don't want to say most, but it's the norm for kids not to come forward till they're adults. So I think that having a statute of limitations, though that we currently do, it really just benefits predators. I don't think there's a good reason to have it.
Do you mean like statute of limitations in entirety, or like around like child crimes?
I would say around everything. But right now we're talking specifically about like the child crimes. But even like
towards that as well.
Yeah, I would say like everything. If you can prove 10 years later that someone stole your car 10 years ago, and you have strong evidence for this, and you can prove, you can convince the jury. Like I don't think there's any reason you shouldn't bring that forward.
I will say that there's more complicated situations to this because you're kind of poisoning the well, or maybe not poisoning the well. You're kind of you're saying if you have strong evidence, but obviously that you're required to have lighter evidence if it happened more recently, right? Do you agree that there should probably be a little bit of like you're required to have stronger evidence the further back in time it goes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If that's feasible, I think I proposed that.
But you're saying if like my bad, go ahead, Corey.
That's what I pretty much saying the same thing of like it scales with time, as in like yes, you can come accuse someone 20 years down the line, but then that proportionally increases the burden of proof,
right?
If you can actually scale it that way. Because like even although I'll let I guess Lacto's not here to defend himself, but he seemed to recognize that not having a statute of limitations on murder probably a good thing. I think there are probably reasons for that. Although he was amenable to having a statute of limitations on murder,
right?
But like it does seem to be inconsistent, as in like the people like Hunter who are in favor of statute of limitations, like. Does that mean that you also want them across the board? Does you want to advocate for statute of limitations on murder, or you're amenable to having that open?
I'm certainly amenable, and I would honestly say that as long as there's a scalar, the stronger your evidence, the more it goes. But I would say that, like I said, sexual assault is unfortunately really light on evidence. It tends to be. So it would probably be the case that statute of limitations would be shorter, it wouldn't scale as much back into time. It would terminate probably quicker than other crimes would. And that's really unfortunate. And I wish that there was, I don't know if I have a better answer, because it like that's the reality that's really hard to tackle when it comes to sexual assault crimes, is they are some of the most brutal, horrible crimes and the hardest to anyway.
So does that sound reasonable to you? What I said?
Does it also have to, well, that might, maybe that's reasonable, but like I guess what I want to ask is like when we have these crimes, like we've been saying, right, what we're trying to get to is that like there's usually very little evidence to begin with, right? With sexual assault, it's usually he said, she said, or he said, or whatever the fuck, right? And like so oftentimes, like we've seen the stats, right, where it's like so few people actually get convicted, right? It's like, well, one, women or victims in general, right, don't show up and make their case. And then so few of them actually make it to trial, and then even fewer of them actually result in a conviction. Should we have, and people look at this as like a big issue, right? Like it's always presented, at least in left circles, right, as like a big issue. That like, well, this shows how the justice system fails us. But like, well, if there's only so much evidence, if it's only, he said, she said at the time, like, shouldn't there be require more evidence? Like, should the testimony of a victim in itself be enough, right? Because sometimes, as my understanding, it is, right? Sometimes like you can convict a person on that, and it's just like they made a convincing, like the testimony, like they got in the stand, they gave a convincing story. But then should that be enough to take a person's freedom away, or at the very least brand them a rapist? And yeah, well, I'll start with there. I have more questions about this, but yeah, what do you guys think about that?
If the question is, should just the victim testimony be enough for a conviction? Yeah, I don't know that I have a good answer for that, to be perfectly honest.
For a conviction for a criminal case?
As in, generally, I err on like the side of the victim, as in, but I do know that false accusations occur, although those are rare. But in general, I would believe an accusation.
Sure. And I also, the reality that I have is that I tend to just believe the jury. That like in criminal cases, when you need a unanimous verdict, if all of them are saying that, yeah, he's guilty, it seems like that testimony is probably pretty damn strong. And like,
so you're saying just a testimony alone should be enough, right? Like the jury believed it.
It could. I'm saying it could be enough if, like we're using a weird. I don't know if it's the case that a testimony has only been enough to sway a jury. But if that were the case, I would love to hear that testimony. And yeah, maybe I'd be convinced by it too. Maybe it is like, maybe it's not just her testimony, but it's also the testimony of people around her about her morals. What's the term for that? Lactoid would have the answer, but there's like
character.
Character. Thank you. Yeah, like there's character witnesses for him, against him, and for her. And
but those people weren't there.
Like, no, I agree. That's why I'm saying it's just one testimony. I'm accepting your premise that there's only one testimony, and that's all the evidence that we have.
Well, the premise, especially in relation to what Doobie said earlier, is it would need more proof. Sounds like that standard's not being met.
With
if we're
me?
just using the
no,
testimony.
No. If it happened almost immediately.
But he's talking about like no statute of limitations, so this would be like 20 years later or something like that.
Yeah, I would certainly say that one testimony would not be enough to convince really anyone 20 years down the line. I don't think that would ever convince 12 people.
Yeah, I think it's not enough.
Personally. But I don't know. Sometimes people surprise me.
And if the biggest thing here though is like in situations, because my standard is very, I think people understand, and when it comes to children, no limits, because children are the biggest victims. But if we're like broadening the scope in reference to any crime, I mean, wouldn't the likelihood of them finding new evidence, I'm very unsure about. And then, of course, we have all the other factors that we elicited before in terms of like time, memory, and potential like false statements made about said crime, not necessarily pointing at one in particular. So at that point, wouldn't it just become burdensome on the court system of like all these different crimes, even if they had happened years ago? Wouldn't that be problematic?
Yeah, I would go back to my original argument that I was sort of hashing out with, yes, your ability to mount a defense degrades over time, but then I think your ability to mount an accusation also degrades over time. Like to me, it's symmetrical.
Yeah, which I agree. So at that point, it would probably be better if you have that statute to ensure that these kind of like type of cases are not wasting everybody's time at that point.
Well, not like that. So that's where I guess the point of disagreement is like, as in, since it's symmetrical, but if there's still enough evidence to potentially get a conviction, as in, pretty much, I would never want any crime just to not have a conviction just due to the passage of time, especially if there's still some evidence there. As in, like, I don't think you're, but again, if Lactoid were here, you might be able to argue better or make the argue against my point better. But like, I don't think your ability to mount a defense just like disappears asymmetrically or like goes down disproportionately for someone to accuse you or to get a conviction. As in, like, in my mind, the scales are more or less like always equal. So if the crime still occurred and it's just 20 years down the line, but there's still evidence there, then you should still have the ability to defend yourself against, if in fact you are innocent.
Is the possibility of exceptional circumstances or like extreme crimes worthwhile to expand the statute of limitations? I think that's fair to say. Like, there could be those situations, but I do think the important part when it comes down to conversations here is precedent and norms that you're trying to set. And do you want to establish a norm where any crime could be a situation of like, hey, I can, either sue or make you, and criminals worse because obviously it's a higher burden, as well as the person can get punished, damages for the person in itself. So in that situation, if we're setting a norm where at any point of your time, 20, 30 years down the line, wouldn't that be a bad norm to set? Because I'm not setting on like a very strict limit of the statute because there's exceptional cases.
Sure. I would maybe ask the question of like, what is your if you were able to articulate as best as you can, what is your concern or primary concern with not having any sort of statute of limitations?
Well, I kind of elicited the burdensome problem, right? Where it's like a situation where more than likely people are not going to have the evidence, the memory, the possibility of just putting out all these different allegations and trying to make a case, whether civil or criminal. It just becomes very burdensome on the system when there's like more matter-of-fact situations you have to handle right in front of you in real time. So like, other than exceptional cases like the E.G. and Carroll situation and like with the Epstein victims and of course children, other than that, I don't think we should set a norm where it's like at any point it's like, and you know what, I feel like fucking this guy stole my PS5. 30 years down the line, I'm gonna sue his ass. I'm like, bro, what are we doing? That's bullshit.
Well, I don't think that's BS, because so it sounds like, but correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misunderstanding your point. It sounds like actually in principle, you're not against getting rid of a statute of limitations. At least you are for them, just because I think how you framed it is like, this is an undue burden on the system. But if there were more resources in the system and there was no bottleneck, it sounds like in principle you would not be against getting rid of statute of limitations.
Yeah, but I think that's an unrealistic standard in terms
Sure.
of having enough resources for all those potential crimes.
But it sounds like in principle, in your ideal world, you would
not. It's not the statute of limitations the problem. It's just resources, the amount of resources, right?
Yeah, at least that's how I'm interpreting it.
If we had infinite resources, I just don't think this is plausible in any sense of the word.
Yeah, we got that. We got that part. We got that part. Yeah.
So like, if infinite resources were like able and we can at any point, then yes, for sure.
Okay, because even you using your example of someone stealing your PS5, 30 years ago, what's your issue with someone suing you that 30 years down, or you suing someone 30 years down the road for that? Why is that a problem? If you can actually prove it meaningfully, as in you have somehow conserved the meaningful and significant evidence of them stealing your PS5 30 years ago, why is that a problem?
I mean, we're just rerouting to my initial argument.
The undue burden on the system.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Doobie, like, I guess, all right, there's two things I'm going to bring up. First, like, with your standards, like, okay, you have to have increased amount of evidence, but like, that doesn't mean that, like, in terms of the accuser, right? But it doesn't mean that the accused has any evidence in defense, right? Is it reasonable? Let's say, like, 30 years go by, and the accuser has to meet like the second level threshold, right? Like past the base level into the next level, right? And then a level above that, like the accuser has to reach this level, this threshold level. But still, on the other hand, like, I have to be able to put up a defense, right? To be able to answer these things, right? Maybe the evidence looks good, right? Oh, they've got video evidence. They got a video evidence of something, right? But maybe if you looked at it from a different angle, right? You're like, what that humping motion looks like for me is like I don't know, dancing or something, right? We're bumping and grinding, and it looks like from that one angle, hey, I'm like, doing something horrible to this person, right? But I don't have that evidence anymore. So like it seems like that we'd still run into that problem that the accuser might have some compelling evidence, but the accused doesn't?
I feel like this is something that already exists, like with like a normal case, because it could be the case that the accuser has evidence, and the accused, if they're like innocent or even if they're not innocent, just didn't think to document whatever was happening at the time in a way that allows them to put up like a strong defense, right, based on the evidence. So I don't know. I feel like this is why we have the jury system, right? It isn't just there's a video and that's it. There's a video and you need to convince this group of your peers that the video means something. And I feel like we run into that issue today. I don't think it could be all that different.
But it'd be worse because at least today you have more of a chance. I mean, like if it happened last year, right?
Sure.
There was more of a chance to be able to gather that evidence, right? Like, so I don't know. That's my issue. I'm not sure if there's an easy answer. Like, and I said previously, I'm very torn on this issue. And so let me get to the thing that I really wanted to get to that we haven't danced around. All right, we haven't really tackled.
You want to talk about strippers again? That's what you want with the dancing.
As always.
I just got back. Corey, come on. That's not cool.
I'm an uncool
We were
person.
waiting for you. We didn't you feel left out of the fun conversation.
Yeah. So like my big issue is like I was saying before, we have a system which like does a poor job in getting like sexual predators off the street, right? Only a few of these people who've been victimized just don't even want to deal with the system for a variety of reasons, right? Before the system even gets a chance to like do a thing, people don't want to deal with it because it's that traumatizing, or they have other reasons not to. But then once they get to that system like very rarely takes the case, and then those cases very rarely get a conviction. So it seems like the system we have is like very poorly built for this type of crime. And so something I asked to someone else, right? They ended up having a really big problem with this issue, but I'm curious what you guys have to say. Is that maybe just like our criminal system isn't the best path? Like unfortunately, like we said before, there's oftentimes very little evidence, right? Sometimes there's DNA evidence, which is great, but like there's for a variety of reasons, sometimes you don't have any of that stuff. So like, but we still want justice, right? At least I think we can all agree there. We still want some level of recompense. And also, it's something I didn't bring up, is that like one of the reasons why people don't take it to the justice system is that they feel like they don't, while they were wronged, they literally don't want to ruin this other person's life, right? Like honestly, the thing that pops up in our mind when we think of a rapist is some guy jumping out in a bush and like some horrible assault. Those things happen, but like it's most likely to be someone who unfortunately, who does it, right? And like for that reason, people make the tough decisions. Like, hey, I was wronged, but like, well, I don't want to put this person in the justice system. I don't necessarily ruin their lives or something. But that doesn't mean I wasn't raped, right? That thing did happen. And so should we like consider like some other sort of system?
What could possibly be a suggestion? Like what are some of the ideas?
I think he's getting to that.
I'm about to do it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm the jackass here.
No worries, friend. Don't worry about it. So like,
and you chastise me, Hunter.
True. I'm sorry, guys.
People talk about like not retributive justice, the other justice. So it's for our
rehabilitative.
Rehabilitative. Thank you. Yeah, it's rehabilitative justice, right? I was thinking, and other people put this out, like it's not my idea. That like we have like some sort of like community court system or something, right? And this court system doesn't have the power to like incarcerate people, but like to get them in a room, like hash it out between like the parties, right? Like I was wronged, and presenting some level of evidence that this didn't even happen, of course, right? But then like as a community, like saying that, hey, you wronged this individual, like this is a problem. maybe institute some level of like community consequences, right? Not tar and feathering them or something like that, but like some sort of community consequences, and then going from there, right?
How
like,
would that differ from like the civil like system we have now? Like what do you?
Well, that's just like overhauling them to pay.
Yeah, like what do you
That's
mean by
just,
like community consequences? Just like so, I have like an idea like what's your kind of concept you're talking about here?
Sure.
Public
sure,
shaming.
Right?
Shame.
Well, I mean that's part of it.
Shame.
I mean that's actually a big part of it, right? Like shaming, like to be known for a person who's done this, right? Like because most of the times when people do this, they're not like, well, I don't want to say most of the time. Maybe I don't know. Let's not put any sort of stats in here, but there's a portion of people who commit sexual assault who like aren't like committed like predators. You know, they're not out there like, oh, I can't wait to like get my hands on another person, right? Like it's that they didn't really respect the boundary for another person. They weren't thinking like of the consequences, right? So a whole level of things. But this person is like reachable, right? They're not some like monster, right? So the intervention, one is shame, but two, it's like hey, maybe we got to go to some kind of therapy, right? Like some sort of like community mandated therapy. Maybe it's like doing some sort of community service or something, right? Like something.
I think.
Yeah,
you put them on a list so that people can know.
I think what bothers me about this,
because
I fundamentally disagree with this idea.
Okay.
The first thing that I'm going to say is, it sounds to me very similar to the court system that we already have. Like the idea that we have community service or things like those sort of punishments, those exist very, very, very commonly in the current system that we have. That's like the go-to thing is community service.
But that would be called a criminal case, right? Like
no, it would be.
Yeah, but then we don't have enough evidence for that criminal case, though, right?
Sure, but like there's different layers of guilt. What I would also say is, sorry, I want to say this. This is actually my big point. This reminds me a lot of how social media currently functions, which is we just sort of like throw people and we start screaming at them, and that's court of public opinion, and everyone sort of checking to see whether or not like we think that that's all guilty, and everyone kind of wants that person to be guilty, and like everyone kind of wants to like consistently aggress on that. I don't know. I'm looking at the way social media like takes care of this situation, and I would trust, as flawed as the justice system is, I would take them any day over social media.
I just to like go along with this, I'm actually not sure. Like maybe you could differentiate it more, Prime. I'd be open to hearing maybe like maybe I'm not really understanding some of the other like outcomes. That's the difference. But I agree with kind of what you're saying there, Hunter, on the back end. And I want to add one more issue to that is that like, okay, what happens when you have two people who define things like super differently, right? Like we're seeing that right now with all the drama stuff, right? Like today, I was watching a thing and it was like, oh, you said this guy's full name, right? And that was doxing. I was like, okay, is that doxing? Because I my full name's out there, right? Like if you just go out there and look, like I've been on like Tip Pool, they said my full name. I was at the Destiny date, they said my full name. Like like and neither one of those in my mind were like doxing. Like you have your full name out there, right? Now obviously your situation is a little bit different, but like
is my full name out there? I don't know.
I guess I don't know if it's your full name. I'm assuming, but like some of these people are like, oh, but then other people are like, oh, this is doxing if you put someone's full name out there, even if it's already in the ether. And other people are like, no, it's not. And so like it's like kind of in this weird situation. Like you're gonna have like groups that just with different moral systems, like in the area, if it's a community court, because I'm assuming they'll be based on region, are gonna come to like vastly different like conclusions. Like I don't know how you would determine. So I don't know. Maybe
you're leaving it to the town idiots to come up with the
I don't know. Yeah, maybe
of
I have an
like,
idea more prime.
what's going on.
We can get a random person, like a peer, and then we send them a letter in the mail, and we say you have to come up. But then we check to make sure there's not like crazies in the audience, that they're normal.
And then you do that like 12 other times.
We do that 12 times, and then we have.
Yo,
okay,
that's a revolution.
I'm gonna walk away.
I do have something.
Someone write that down.
So, my biggest issue when it comes down to what you're proposing is not necessarily the community aspect. I don't actually have a strong opinion on that as of right now. The biggest issue when it comes down to is like the evidence. Is like, can you confirm whether or not this person is telling the truth? Because if they're shaming a guy who actually did nothing, or shaming a girl who actually did nothing, then regardless of what punishment you give, regardless of what everybody thinks, an innocent person is getting shamed. So I'm trying to think of like the best way to go about it, because I do think there are issues with like whether it's fear or whether you're just gonna ruin someone's life. Well, if they don't want to go out there, that's kind of a little bit more difficult. I can't really solve if you don't want to speak up. I'm sorry, I can't. But in regards to the person, I was trying to think of clever ways. So this is what I came up with. There's a lot of interesting technology out there. Now, obviously, you have something like a rape kit, which is something you can kind of confirm things. But in situations where maybe you can't confirm something with a rape kit, I do think there's interesting things in regards to like the fear response. So what I mean by this is like there's interesting technology out there, whether it's someone like wearing a watch or just like if it's possible to kind of isolate certain times of like their brain activity or their heart rate to determine fear as a means of a specific situation to kind of insinuate, at the very least, add to circumstantial evidence that something traumatic happened in this event. Now, if we start going into like those biological, especially and mechanical with like GPS, so like you were at this place, you were at their house, you're at this time of day, what happened? Was it a fearful event? Maybe we can confirm that if we use this technology. Dude, that's like the only way I can go. Like
we have that technology.
He say, she say.
It's called.
I know we have the technology, but will we?
And they're banned in courts because they're super unreliable.
But
that's like.
But like what you brought up is like having like wearing a smartwatch and like saying, well, at this time they were wearing their smartwatch, like the victim maybe wearing their smartwatch, and then you had like an elevated heart rate. Well, I mean, like the problem is like you said it was circumstantial. That's fair, right? But like you could, the circumstance could just be, hey, we're having consensual sex and your like heart rate elevates because you're having consensual sex.
I did confirm there's difference between like sexual activity and fear. Like the heart patterns are different. Fear is a very unique trait in your brain, and your heart's gonna.
Do we trust an Apple Watch to be the thing to measure that?
I don't know if like what biometric.
It depends if
that's even worse right there. I think probably hitting the nail on the head there. But
well, I'm just trying to add like other aspects of trying to track like what has happened to them throughout time. Because other than he say, she say, there's no other way, and then a rape kit, there's no other way to kind of confirm.
So let me ask this the other way around. Let's try this question the complete other way. Are we okay with like rape convictions being as low as they are? Right? It's not that they're low because there's not that many rape or like sexual assaults that happen. Right? There's a ton that happen. But like. It's just that after going through the filter that I described twice already, right? We have a very low rate of convictions. Are we okay with that? Is that because of all the other barriers, right? Because of lack of evidence or whatever, right? Like, do we think like, yeah, it sucks, but like this is just the way it's going to be, and this is like the best we can do?
I'm personally not okay with it, but I don't actually know this. I'm not opposed to your solution. I would just ask the question, and I'm not like trying to poke holes and saying it's like a bad idea, because in principle, I'm in favor of it. But like, what do you do when someone just refuses to participate, right? As in like, there's no force involved. You have to force two people into a room to hash it out.
That's when you get the community security guards to get them out of their house and bring them.
And they have special badges with the
community holding area.
Yeah, like again, like I don't pretend I have some built out.
Yeah, no, but like I don't think yours is a bad idea. Like if it can, if it work and a community is amenable to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like so, guys, like what is this okay? Like, is the status quo okay? Right? Is it like not that like you guys like think it's good, but like, do you think it's the best that can be done? That's the question.
No, I think that what we can do is increase social awareness and conversation about this and allow people to come forward, and really that's all that we can do. I don't know if I'm sure that we could point to small issues.
No, body cams for everybody.
I think it's tech. I think tech is the answer, right? I think that what was it?
Body cams for everybody.
I don't know about that, but I think he is onto something with the watch thing, though. It's like if we have everything's plugged in, and we can have like an AI or whatever, and it goes and tracks all the CC footage from that area, and there's the watch data, and there's like 50 other circumstantial evidence things. Okay, maybe we can start like
other evidence.
Like I mean, if you get like 50
all of it is circumstantial.
Yeah, right. It's all circumstantial. Maybe we can't like convict like of a criminal. but I think that's going to start adding to like more of the civil convictions. That's going to lead to restitution for people. Maybe at that point we could extend the like statute of limitations further or eliminate it because like, oh, okay, or anything past this point of, I guess, I don't know, with the singularity or something. I don't know, where we have these things that they're able to track all these different things and access the data and confirm it's not fake or confirm like other stuff. Maybe we start at like extending statutes for the like stuff on like civil cases.
I mean, there are solutions.
I do.
It's just going to be. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I do think. I mean, if I really wanted to go for it, I'm sure I can really come down to like a technological thesis on how this is plausible. But like my preference is not that, because there's a lot of like concerns and unreliability, obviously. So I actually agree with Hunter. You have to establish like a social norm and social like stigma in one, making it very okay to confess like what has happened to you. Two, men lock the fuck in, of course. Three, the community that's in your area, the community, the school, they have to be like establish a safe environment. So it's really gonna have to kind of continuously change like social stigmas. And we have, to be fair, like even though obviously I do think we should like improve it, we have changed a lot in terms of like how men interact with women. Now other people have become like, you're on Twitch, I can't say that. So, but regardless, when it comes down to it, we can do more in terms of like changing social behavior for sure.
We can say lots of things on Twitch. I'm not sure what
you say. Whatever you want on Pride.
I was gonna say incel. I don't know if that was like.
You can't say incel.
I have no idea.
I think there are some words that like you can't use as insults. Like I think simp was one of them, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a change way back when they said like you can't use simp as an insult, but you can like say the word simp if you're just like describing something. I'm not sure if incel's on that list.
I think it was, but I think it's been a while since
describing who you are.
I mean, I think that's not one that they like super enforce compared to other words. They're like, hey, you said that, you better delete the VOD.
Yeah. Doobie. Doobie. You there? Yeah. So, like, I'd like to know your opinion on what I've been asking about, right? Like, do you think this is the best that we can do? Do you think like so? These other guys were saying that like, hey, we have to change the culture, right? And I think a lot of people who aren't here, right, would push back against that. Like, okay, like, well, we've had decades of like changing the culture, and yes, there has been some improvements, certainly, right? But like we have like those take back the night marches, right? We have like we have movies and movies talking about like the horrors of sexual assault, right? Like it's like raising awareness about breast cancer. No, I think we've done that. Like we're at the saturation point, right, on sexual assault. People know what it is, right? People know it's a bad thing. Like, do you think that we can like culture ourselves out of this? Do you think more has to be done? What are your thoughts?
No, I think you need like draconian punishment for people who violate the law. I think you need to scare people into behaving. So I think some percentage of people will do bad things even if they know that they're bad, right? So if they've been cultured or conditioned to understand that these things are bad, obviously the issue is that they don't know it's bad, so they want to do it anyway. So I think you need fear at that point. No, I don't think we use it enough.
So do be deterrence by fear, right?
Yeah.
So like, say we wanted to stop people from coming across the border, drone striking the illegal immigrants would be a deterrence by fear. You'll same kind of concept.
Or just opening the border with spiders. Yeah, that would work. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Like I think there are some technological things that we can do, but it's like these are obviously not going to be palatable to most Americans because like this obsession with privacy. But like if it was mandatory to maintain a DNA database of all U.S. citizens, that will probably do something. If there was increased surveillance, that will also probably do something as well. But people have understandable issues with that level of intrusiveness, or let's say, all for the sake of privacy. There's reasons why there's not to maintain DNA.
They've already had cold cases solved because of that, Corey, with like 23andMe and some of these. They're like, oh, well, since the government had access to a couple of these, they're like, wait, that's the
problem. And now just think if it was mandatory for you to have your DNA maintained in a database, that would probably do something. But people don't I understand why, but just realize that there's a cost to not having this.
Yeah, how draconian? Sorry, I know you want draconian punishments, Doobie, and okay, fair enough, right? I want them to for certain cases, but like probably not the same ones you're talking about. But in any case, so I know you want draconian punishments, but like, do you want draconian like countermeasures or like premeditations, like not premeditations, preemption, like so like what our friend Corey was talking about, like like a DNA database, or what our friend Gibbs is talking about, and Riddell as well, talking about expanding technological surveillance, right? Like one, like
yeah,
yeah, okay, you want that?
Yeah, like do you remember there was a big story about Flock, the cameras and how they're gonna yeah, I think that would actually be a very good thing, actually. I think absolutely, not only would you find more lost dogs, but you'd catch more crime if all these cameras were linked in that way. So yeah, I think we do need, I think we are going to move in that direction, and I think it's a good thing.
Shout out pigeon drones, man. Shout out pigeon drones.
Wait. You want the thing from the end of the Dark Knight to be a reality?
What's the end of the Dark Knight? What is
That's
that?
when
actually yes.
The cell phones and the sonar, the back sonar.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so like that seems like a horrible thing to me, because like I think there will be far less. Like I think we'll see the impact in like rape crimes be like, I mean, something, it'll be significant, I think, right? But like the thing that we'll see more often is just like government repression on a mass scale, right? I would think my conservative brothers and sisters would like this, like the government, right, the federal government having more power to track all you individuals. I mean, like for fuck's sakes, like if the government just knew what Gibbs got up to, like I don't know, we'd see him again.
Don't worry, I'm with you on this one. I ain't no way I want that to exist.
I want all the Flock cameras all on Gibbs's property, just every square footage under surveillance.
Oh my goodness!
Go see some shit. You don't want to see.
I'm pretty unsure about the idea in general. Like I don't really trust, especially with our current government in power. But to push the idea a little bit, there was a time and period where people were walking, doing whatever they wanted without cell phones. Cell phones added a whole new layer of security to people, being able to contact people, being able to contact the police, all that stuff. It changed. It was a technological like tool that would change how we perceive safety. Is it possible that we can't create more tools to even further increase safety?
I mean, that's what Flock is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like Doobie is right. Like, I don't particularly want the thing from the Dark Knight happening because it's like that's terrifying. I can just imagine like, oh, I said the word like I don't know, socialism, talking shit about it.
Do you want it on the border?
Or saying it? Do I want it on the border? No. Maybe I want like I don't know. I don't think so. They already have so much crazy
drone strikes. Yeah, sonar.
But I think that's maybe my line, but like I think that it is going the way where AI is just to be able to put together data points it has access to.
We don't even really need AI.
Okay, it doesn't have to be AI. I think
I'm saying you already have like mass quantities of people posting their like day-to-day lives, whether it be on stories, Snapchat, or whatever it may be. Like you already have.
My point is, exactly. It's gonna be able to correlate it from like, oh, Sally posted a picture at this cafe at 3:57 a.m. and you can see this guy's shoe in the background, and like this picture matches that. Like, I think there's eventually gonna be a point where that just exists, right? And so they're gonna be using it. I think maybe that'll lead to like, now you can't prove because they didn't see the crime itself, but it could prove like, oh, maybe we can civilly something happen. I think maybe now, I suppose to what Doobie's saying, he wants the thought police. I don't know. I'm a little sussed out about that.
This is what
I think the issue. I think the issue isn't that the government would have a lot of information. I think you guys are afraid of what they would do with it. But I think that part of the issue is that we kind of live in a two-tiered system, or even three-tiered system actually, where people with political power and money don't really have to deal with the justice system in the way that the rest of us do, so they can get away with doing all kinds of crazy shit. And if you're a politician and you're corrupt, nothing happens. If you're like a massive CEO and you're corrupt, nothing happens. So like I feel like that's part of what we need to change. So we need draconian punishments for them too, like brutal punishments for them too.
I think he's actually Skynet. I think that's what Doobie is. Doobie's actually Skynet in disguise.
Doobie is an AI. Doobie is.
I think that's what I think. He was telling us he was talking to the AI, and I think he might actually be in the AI the whole
Just
time.
so you guys know, that's what our friend Gibbs was describing earlier. That's what like Palantir does. Is they're not necessarily like collecting the data.
they've just like figured out a very efficient way of collating data, like mass amounts of data from all these like disparate databases, and then presenting that in an easy to digest way to the government. So like you're saying like that's going to exist one day. We're kind of already there. Like we're basically there's improvements to be made, but like we're kind of there already. And like adding things like Flock, right? Like adds to the issue, right? Like it gives more centralized databases for the government to run these things. Like and like for Flock, right? Like literally the same thing happened with Flock that's happened with every single one of these other centralized surveillance systems, right? The law enforcement agents who have access to it use it to stalk their partners, their romantic partners. They just like they found like a bunch of guys. I think they were arrested. I'm not sure if they were arrested or not, but they found right a whole slew of cops who are doing exactly that, like stalking either their current partners or their ex-partners, right? Because yes, that's what they do, right? When the database that Snowden revealed, right, like the U.S. government collating a ton of like phone data and shit, right? Like that thing, yeah, those the FBI agents or NSA agents, whatever, right? They did the exact same fucking thing. Right, like this is just like what's happened in these cases, right? And then specifically to like even access the database, like when we're talking about Flock, right? Well, you don't need a warrant for that, right? You don't have to get a judge to sign up on it, so like law enforcement can just kind of do whatever with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's say that happened, right? So they were stalking their exes or whatever. Mm-hmm. So if that happened, and then the next step of the story wasn't that they got put on leave for a while, or they got written up or something, was that they were publicly caned on TV, hit 30 times with a fucking like with a metal rod or something, and then they were put in jail for 10 years, right? I think that kind of justice is brutal justice. So there is a punishment for these people that we put into trust positions that then violate that trust. I think not only would that reduce the amount of people willing to risk that in these positions, I think that it would reignite trust in our government, in our society, because we're seeing that the system does work for everybody, that there is punishment for people who are in positions of power. So I think that's what we're missing right now.
Would you extend that, Doobie, to like say hypothetically, because I know you've also said that we need like change our societal like norms too. So say these cops, whatever, were stalking their significant others, male or female, and they found out they were right and they were cheating. Would you like also cane the people that were actually cheating?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cheating? Okay, cool. Just so the cheaters get caned and
well, hold on. No, I think I don't know, not the cheaters. I'm saying that even if the cops are right, so I think that they should still be caned. Yeah.
Okay. But it's fine to be cheating.
People for fucking spitting gum on the street, like I think we can cane cops for violating the trust that we put in them. Yeah.
But this wouldn't be like Prime's community court where the cheater gets caned for breaking community norms.
I'm not sure if I would include cheating as like
I'm just saying.
Post them on TikTok and they'll be publicly shamed. There you go.
Yeah.
Also, there's also ways to create like technology that doesn't have to necessarily break your privacy. Like maybe you could create something where maybe it's wearable. This off top of the dome, I have no idea if this thing exists or if it even makes sense. But you can create a wearable device, whether it's around your waist or maybe on your upper thigh. And if like a certain amount of physical force is like emitted near it or on it, then it kind of rings and it's like, oh, this is bad. And maybe you have to deactivate it or something like that. Like devices out there where it can have like a trigger signal or at the very least a notification of harm do exist already. And you can modify something like that to protect people, like or protect women or men that are in like precarious situations, precarious sexual situations. So there's like other things you can do that doesn't necessarily have to take your private data.
I mean, an impact sensor, but like, okay, so you're saying you want an impact sensor that like triggers when a certain level of impact happens. I mean, we do have those, but like it would have to be reported somewhere to be effective, right? If it just like makes a sound, it's like, okay. I mean, like that's a very
911,
right? Okay, so it goes to 911. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And it's off the top of your dome, so it's like it's fine, right? And I hear you. Like you're saying, like you want to. The premise what you're getting to is that hey, like let's like try to figure out some creative ways to to help with this. But like, I think part of the problem here, and again, we don't have. There are other people who can make this case better than I could, right? Is that like our society doesn't actually take rape seriously? That there's like a whole bunch of situations where like, you know, it's just like fine or whatever, right? Like here's a problem, right? And now Doobie's like, I guess, is maybe the only one maybe pushing back against this, but like a thing is that like, you know, we've seen cases where like, you know, the judge, like the guy gets convicted of sexual assault, all right, but just like, I don't want to ruin this guy's life, you know. He's a fine, upstanding young man. He reminds me of me when I was young, right? And he just didn't know what the fuck, right? And then he gets like a slap on the wrist. Like, things like this happen within the justice system, and like, we don't get one, we traumatize victims going through the justice system, and then like juries, like for whatever reason, and for a variety of reasons, don't like want to convict, even if there's sufficient evidence this time, right? And then, you know, even then, like the consequences that they have to face maybe not be as strong as you might expect, right? So it seems like it's just like a much bigger issue. And my thing is like, I'm not sure if the court system is the best way to handle it. Now, you guys have all brought up like good pushback, right? Counter arguments to the thing I brought up, right? Fair. But like, I don't know if the court system is just designed for this. Like, I just don't know. Like,
I think part of the issue you're kind of like talking about, Prime, is what is actually justice, though, right? Like, so whenever you have like these things that can be like kind of like dubious, or it's like he said, she said, or like vice versa, or whatever, where it's like whatever, you have to go, okay, what is justice? Is ruining this person's life, and then like versus like something that could be impactful a different way. Like, one person might say, oh, it's a sexual assault if the guy just told me to like spin around. Right. It's another person might say, oh, it was a sexual assault. And it'd be like, oh, he like physically touched me. And then others might be even like more extreme, and they'd be okay with other things up to that point. Right. Just depending on a life they've been. Now, that might say different things about that person, but like this kind of like what affects one person one way might not affect another. And they all might meet a certain metric of like a definition of assault. Right. Like, and it's kind of thing. So then you have like the damage aspect to like individual people is going to vary quite a bit across the spectrum. Then you have like, what's the justice for this? Like, is that this guy having this? So like, say we all agree that it's a sexual assault to like have a guy go and like say spit around, right? But then it's more egregious if they do something like physical, right? And they say they go and do this. All right, what's the like scale? Is that going to be the same amount of damage? Is the justice going to be like to ruin this person's life over the spit around comment that it would be this? And so I think when you have all these different like factors with like what is justice, what is restitution, what is with like what is like I don't know, what is it idiot in the first place? Like, I think that like it's kind of like hard to like narrow down specifics and like say, oh, this is like worse, do we ignore it? I think that's kind of where this like problem lies. There's so many different like gray areas that like go across like a different broad spectrum of issues here, like in this. Like in the scale, like one person versus they did 50 kids, like, you know what I'm saying? If they're like, you know, a chronic one, I don't know.
Gibbs, like, what would you say about like a social credit score like they have in China? Like, so if somebody was a cheater, if they could prove that their former partner could prove that they cheated, then they would take a social credit score hit, right? And which would get them like less access to public services, higher interest rates, higher bus fares, whatever the fuck it is. I think that might actually be very good. That's a very good way to shift the culture over time.
I could be open to that if it wasn't ran by the government.
Why?
Who would it be ran by, though?
It would have to be like it would have to be like several different. It would have to be like kind of like you do a normal credit score. It had to be like a combination of three like different like things. So you have like, oh, okay, I have like Experian social score, like Credit Karma social credit score, and then whoever the third person would be, right? And they would sit here and have your like, I don't know, like FICO, right? And you'd have these three, and they would go and use this, and like you'd go, okay, it's a combination of the three, and then maybe you have supplementary credit scores, like you have your renter score as well as your like house score. Like all these other ones you could like factor in. I think I would, but I wouldn't want it to be the government just because I don't trust the government. I think the government would be like, oh, if you're a Democrat or oh, you're a Republican, then you get minus 500 on the credit score, and then we're gonna lock you up or something.
I don't trust the government, and I don't trust markets. This is a horrible idea. There's no way we should allow.
Why don't you like the private one, Doobie? I'm sorry. Yeah, if you don't trust me, then that's no good though. I don't like it.
I think because I'm talking about like restricting. I mean, if there was, I wouldn't mind a private one, to be honest with you. But for what I'm thinking, it would require like the government, because I'm talking about like restricting access to public services, or like I said, higher bus rates or something, or less, or you lose preferred seating if you're going to get on the subway or some shit. And there's like a cap on how many people can be in the subway. And then if you have a low social credit score, you're the first person out, sort of thing.
I mean, like, how arbitrary are these? Like, credit? I don't know. It would have to be pretty egregiously like monoculture, I guess, where it's like everybody.
How do they do it in China?
Well, I mean, because China's what I want to emulate. They're like, oh, you know what? You're Uyghur Muslim. Your credit score is 0. We can put you in a concentration camp. Like, you know.
That's not how it works.
I mean,
they might put you in like a re-education center, but that's not actually a bad thing. Some people need to be re-educated.
I'm not talking about.
We already have re-education centers in the U.S. and in Europe that we have for people with extremist ideologies. I don't think that's that unusual.
Yeah, I don't know about.
I hate everything.
I don't trust the government.
I just want to make that very clear. I hate everything that's being said right now.
Hold on. We actually do rehabilitation.
Because I would like to stay in the in group and listen. Any in group could get caught that way.
Oh, rehabilitation. We're getting them ready to be a productive citizen or whatever the fuck. That's re-education. That's what we're actually doing there. We're trying to shift their mindset from what they were to something that we prefer them to be. That's all that is.
That is the rehabilitation process.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, that's also the process of brainwashing too. You sit it down, make a watch.
People need to be brainwashed.
Oh,
some people are mentally fucked. They've learned terrible things. They need to be taught out of those terrible things.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on the government ran one. I like the private ran one. I'll tell you genuinely, the problem is that, listen, that's well and good until like the side you don't want gets in there. Right. And then all of a sudden they're re-educating you. And like this, like maybe it won't even happen in my lifetime. Maybe it'll happen in my grandkids' lifetime. It's gonna happen in somebody's lifetime. Like every system is doomed to eventually have somebody corrupt take over. That's kind of like why you like wanted like the refresh with the tree of liberty and shit. That's why we have voting where you vote people out. This is why I'm like okay with one corrupt party that's a new corrupt party coming in and wiping out the old corrupt. Just sometimes you need to burn out the rot. Like, you know, and the problem is though, when that happens, you have somebody that's like crazy or come in and be like, you know what, all the whites are going to their concentration camps this week, or all the blacks, or somebody. It doesn't matter. They're gonna have somebody that's gonna be like, hey, you best right, your social credit score is 0 if you're this group. And I don't particularly want to be in group with the social credit score of 0 ran by the government. Now the private system, you know, they'll have to at least get it across like several different groups and supplementary groups. And I don't think that would be as like likely as a possibility. Which even then I still don't particularly love the idea, but
I don't know. I feel like being afraid that at some point, somewhere down the road, someone's going to take the power that the government has and do terrible things with it. I mean, that's just an argument for no government at all, right? So we shouldn't trust government with any power ever, because at some point, someone we don't like is going to come to power, and they're going to use it to murder us, whatever the fuck. Yeah, I mean that could happen, of course, but like,
some things make it way easier than other things. Like, you know, like
we shouldn't be designing the system for like the most extreme potential like downfall, right? I think it makes a lot more sense, and we'd reap a lot more benefit in the meantime if we did have some kind of social credit system that
but what are the
blacklisted
things
certain types of ideologies, certain types of behaviors, punish people who did those things, not criminally, but just made it harder to be a citizen if you're going to do these sorts of things. I think it's totally fine.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you shopped at the same store as this guy that was a dissident, so now you lose 60 credit points, and that means.
Or you're a revolutionary communist, right? Or a anarcho-capitalist or some shit, or a sovereign citizen, right? So because you have an ideology that is detrimental to the people around you, to the country, it's going to be harder for you to get a loan or something. Now, fuck you. It's totally fine.
I want to explore this, but I want to give an outro too, because especially we have a new person here. I want to allow them to leave at the time that I said they could leave. So I'll give an outro. I'll end things here. You guys still want to talk afterwards? You can, and you can examine Doobie's insanity. But I just want to make sure everyone knows they can leave. So, but I'll quickly say thanks everyone for being here. This has been a lot of fun. Shout out to everyone. I'll give everyone a chance to give us some outro, but like hit the follow button if you haven't done so already, and consider supporting the channel if you can, any way that you can. It means a lot. Corey, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure and grateful to be invited. You can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell. And I'm sad that we did not get to examine Lactoid's poor approach to dating, but maybe next week. But yeah, Doobie, Ali, Gibbs, always a pleasure. Nice to meet you, Riddell, and love you, Prime.
Thanks so much. Okay, let's go to our friend Gibbs. Thanks so much for everything.
Thank you so much for having me. Damn, Corey, we didn't get to talk about that. That's a mistake. And then I would like to continue this conversation at a different time. I have to leave at the end of this. So, but I do think that's actually interesting. There's a few different ways I'd like to look at that we were talking about here, Doobie. So I'd be open to continue this further in the future. Also, I won't be here next week, sad times, but it's for a good reason because I will be in Vegas on the #1 rated show on Apple, business show on Apple, apparently. It's their social hour with Sean Kelly. So exciting times. So that's where I'll be. So check that out. But then hopefully I'll be back after that. Yeah, so that's going on here for me in my life. And as always, thanks for having me. And I guess, don't be a creep. And maybe guys don't put your kids in the scouts. We all know that they were sus. Like, come on. Like, that's on the parents.
Wait, Gibbs, you knew it and you said nothing? Another
No, I said it. No. We said it. Listen, always the Boy Scouts we knew always were kind of the weird ones. And we were like, nah, man, maybe don't hang out with that guy. We warned people. We warned them off. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, not another protector. That's crazy work, Corey. But yeah, thanks for having me as always. Until next time.
So about the social credit topic, I think that maybe we could do it. But one, Doobie needs to be here because it was going to be the main one to defend this thing. And I guess we could do it as a planned topic, or we could do it like a pre-topic. If that's fine.
Yeah.
Doobie,
sure.
Whenever. Yeah. Because I actually don't want to stop it here because I want to hear more about this, but I want to give people a chance to leave. But Riddell, thank you for coming. I thought you did a great job. I think everyone liked you here. So we'd love to have you back in the future.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I think this was fun. I don't typically do debates. Not that I can't do it, but it's just I typically focus on talking about policy stuff. That's just what I do. Like I said, I have a podcast, Purple Political Breakdown. I have a new episode coming out on Tuesday where I spoke with the independent candidate for the Idaho Senate election, Todd Achilles, and we spoke about policy. He was a very interesting candidate. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad if he won obviously over MAGA because MAGA sucks, but even over the Democratic candidate. He has really good Democratic progressive policies that are pretty cool. With that said, I also have an upcoming conversation with another candidate. He's very young, progressive. That one should be very interesting as well. So for the most part, I talk politics, I talk policy, I talk solutions. Currently, I'm in the scope of going into the Supreme Court packing conversation, doing my research there. And that's one's pretty interesting. So that's all I got. When I'm not talking policy, I'm shitting on MAGA or leftists. So that's pretty much what I got.
Our friend Lactwood had to leave earlier, the lawyer. He's pretty passionate about court packing and being against court packing. So that'd be someone you want to reach out to. Good guests there. All right. Well, thank you. And yeah, I'll send you invites in the future. We'd love to have you again.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to our friend Ali. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man. I love being here. It's always a great time. My favorite day of the week is my Monday evenings. So I look forward to next week. If available, I'd really like to talk about that Chud the Builder bullshit. That's been still kind of taking up my feed.
Okay, yeah. Let's do it. If we have some Black people around here, talk about that.
We've had Black people both panels this week, and we dodged it.
You haven't made it a thing. It's
well, we got swept up last week, and then we promised Hunter this week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. We'll get there.
And Hunter still left early.
Yeah. Yeah, he did actually. And last but not least, we have our good friend Doobie. Happy to have you here. You had such an interesting topic there, Dan. I wish we had more time for that because I actually do want to talk about it, especially if someone can make a strong case for social credit scores. I think that's super interesting. I'm not sure if I know anyone else is going to make a really strong case, but like I know you can handle yourself, DB. So
because you guys need to decolonize your mind. Okay, that's the problem.
Well, I don't know that I make a strong case.
Bought into Western propaganda.
I think we already operate on social credit scores, so it's really
in a lot of ways we do.
To have a number isn't really that crazy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways we can explore that. Really, that being, but.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
I don't want any institution establishing my value at all. Personally, I'm good.
I run the politics server on Discord, discord.gg/politics. The best and biggest politics server on the platform. That's me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we raid out to our friend Admiral Gibbs, right?
I'm getting off. I'm also getting off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right. All right. Well, then I'll raid out to this chick. All right. I'll just do my usual thing. Okay. I'll raid out to the chick. Yeah, like I would love to explore this. I'll write it down. But yeah, DB, like if you have a moment in the future, I'd love to explore this topic. I think it's like super interesting.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. The raid is out. Thanks everybody. Have a good one.
Take care. Be well.
Have a good night, fellas.
See ya.
Yes, sir.